Chapter 7:18. After modifying the White Tiger Blade, Wang Daoyuan did not continue modifying the other 4 natal magic tools. The White Tiger Blade alone had taken him 5 years. If he wanted to transform the 5 elements Devil Subduing Seal into a sword, he would have to make major changes to every single artifact. Fusing the tool pattern required a huge change as well. In order to complete the entire improvement, it would take at least 30 to 40 years. Wang Daoyuan did not want to waste too much energy. The current power of the White Tiger Blade was enough to deal with all opponents below the Yuanying level. As long as he did not encounter Yuanying, he would not be defeated. There was a huge gap between the combat power of a nascent Soul Stage Cultivator and a half-step nascent Soul Stage Cultivator. Even if he modified the Dragon-Slaying Devil Sword, he was still no match for a nascent Soul Stage Cultivator. At most, he would be able to exchange a few blows with Yuanying cultivators. Before he broke through Yuanying, there was no point in modifying these things. It was better to go to the Qixing Si Xiuxin community first. There were soul formation cultivators there, and the inheritances there should be more advanced. Stones from other mountains can be used to polish jade. After he broke through the Yuanying stage, his understanding of refining would definitely reach a higher level. Only by absorbing some of the inheritance of the Sea of 7 Stars would the modified natal Dharma artifact be even stronger. Now, it was time to deal with other matters. There were still many spirit plants in the space of the spirit pearl that needed to be dealt with. Back then, the 7-leaf ghost face flower had already withered, and Wang Daoyuan had harvested 7 seeds. 1,000 years had passed in the space of the spirit orb, and the second generation of 7 ghost-faced flowers had bloomed. The first batch of stellar fruits had finally ripened. The 2 stellar fruit trees were both 4th-level low-grade stellar fruits, and they had produced a total of 28 fruits. A jar of 100-fruit wine only required 1 star fruit. The 28 jars of wine were all hidden under the spirit pearl space. This thing would only taste good after 100 years. No one in the family was in a hurry to break through Yuanying, and the 100-fruit wine was not a necessity. The jade needle white jade pine tree that he had obtained from the auction back then had already grown to over 3 feet tall, but there were still no signs of it bearing fruit. When he first obtained it, it was only 1,000 years old. Now, less than 3,000 years had passed in the space of the spirit pearl. There were still more than 1,000 years to go before the 5,000-year harvest. On the other hand, the true essence fruit trees had already borne true essence fruits with cores. Wang Daoyuan had also used these cores to cultivate 9 new true essence fruit trees. They had also begun to bear fruit. Under normal circumstances, the true essence fruit tree would wither after it bore a true essence fruit with a core. However, not only did this true essence fruit tree not wither, it had even advanced. Now, the true essence fruit tree had already broken through the limit and became a Tier 3 middle-grade spirit plant. After that, there were no more results. There was an 80% chance that a mutation had occurred. However, no matter how mutated this thing was, it was useless to Wang Daoyuan. He had no use for the 9 new true essence fruit trees, so he decided to transplant them elsewhere. The Jade Spring Peak and the Blue Cloud Peak each had 1 stalk. As for the remaining 7 stalks, 1 stalk was left in the space of the spiritual pearl. The Green Willow Secret Realm and the 5 Elements Secret Realm each had 3 stalks. After all, refining foundation establishment pills by killing demonic beasts was not very stable, so he still needed to have a stable method. He didn't need to do these things himself, he could just leave it to the spirit plant farmers in the clan. Next, he had to deal with the matter of the large willow tree in Green Willow Province. Not long after he had taken over the Green Willow Mystery Realm from the Zhao family, he had separated a pseudo-spirit fire of the life spirit fire. He wanted to merge it into the large willow tree and let it advance. This large willow tree and the Green Willow Mystery Realm were bound together for good or ill. If he could advance, the Green Willow Mystery Realm would also receive great benefits. That pseudo-spirit fire had been nurtured by the peach tree sapling, and was now a 4th-level low-grade spirit fire. Wang Daoyuan left Jade Spring Peak and came to the entrance of the Green Willow Province's secret realm. This was the roots of the large willow tree. This willow tree species was hollow willow. Wang Daoyuan had seen some records that mentioned a 7th-level hollow willow. It was hard to say if it was a divine wood. This hollow willow had been burdened by the secret realm, and had not advanced for an unknown number of years. To be able to use a hollow willow to build a secret realm, this method was definitely from the ancient times. In the ancient times, this was the territory of the Valley of Beasts, so it was most likely the work of the Valley of Beasts. In that case, this hollow willow had to be at least 50,000 years old. Since it was a hollow willow, its interior must be hollow. It was best to place the life spiritual fire inside. However, this hollow willow was related to the secret realm, and there was a very complicated array formation inside. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to act rashly. He could only place the life spiritual fire near the roots, and the hollow willow could more or less absorb some life force. He took out the 4th level low-grade life spiritual fire and placed it on a large root of the hollow willow. The life force emitted by the life spiritual fire was quickly absorbed. Nourished by the life force, the hollow willow's aura began to slowly rise. On this root, a few small roots also quickly grew, wrapping the entire life spiritual fire. The life force could no longer escape, and was all absorbed by the hollow willow. Wang Daoyuan entered the secret realm to investigate. Everything was normal in the secret realm, and it was not affected by the life spiritual fire. He was also relieved, and began to refine gold-forming pills in the pill refining room. In the past few years, he had purchased some from Linhai province, and now he had 10 monster beast golden cores in his hands. These things were useless in his hands, so it was better to refine them into gold-forming pills and keep them in the clan. He spent a year refining 10 cauldrons of gold-forming pills. A total of 25 gold-forming pills were refined, and the success rate was about 50%. Fifth great-uncle was also cultivating in the secret realm. After Wang Daoyuan finished refining the gold-forming pills, he went to his cave. He took out 20 gold-forming pills and gave them to him. Fifth great-uncle, these are the gold-forming pills I refined. I'm going to travel, and these things are useless to me, so I'll leave them in your care. When someone in the clan wants to form their gold core, you can give them a gold-forming pill. There are too few golden core cultivators in the clan now, so if someone wants to form their gold core, he can owe you contribution points first. Fifth great-uncle nodded. Since you're giving me such precious things without worry, I'll certainly handle them impartially. In the past year, there were no changes in the Green Willow's secret realm. The life spiritual fire did not cause any negative effects to the hollow willow, so Wang Daoyuan was relieved. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly felt that the spiritual aura in the Green Willow's secret realm had increased a bit. Moreover, this increase was still ongoing. Fifth great-uncle was also a golden core cultivator, so he could naturally feel the subtle changes in the spiritual aura. The two of them quickly walked out of the secret realm and went outside to check the situation. Sure enough, the hollow willow had finally advanced. In the past, it had always been an unranked spiritual plant, but now it had advanced to a first-rank low-grade spiritual plant. Although it was only a small breakthrough, it still had some positive effects on the Green Willow secret realm. Fifth great-uncle said with a smile, "Your life spiritual fire is really amazing. This hollow willow has been an unranked spiritual plant for who knows how many years. I didn't expect it to advance in your hands. In the future, the Green Willow secret realm will also receive great benefits." A clan naturally had to consider the long term. As long as this hollow willow could continue to grow, it wouldn't be a problem for it to grow to the 4th rank. The Green Willow secret realm and the hollow willow were intertwined. The higher the rank of the hollow willow secret realm, the greater the growth space of the Green Willow secret realm, and the more benefits the clan would receive. When he arrived on the ground, he looked at the hollow willow. There weren't any changes on the surface of the willow. There were only obvious fluctuations of spiritual power, which was a characteristic that only ranked spiritual plants would have. When he examined it with his divine sense, there was a special charm to it. He broke off a willow branch and stored it in the space of his spiritual pearl. Although he didn't know if this hollow willow branch could be used to grow, he could still give it a try. Soon after, he left the Green Willow province and returned to Jade Spring Peak. When he arrived at the executive hall, Wang Mingshan and head elder Wang Dezhao were handling clan affairs. Wang Mingshan was also learning from them. Seeing Wang Daoyuan enter, the three of them bowed one after another. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No need to be so courteous. I want to abdicate the throne to Mingchen. You guys make some preparations." Saying so, he patted Wang Mingchen's shoulder. "In the future, the burden of the clear glass commandery will be shouldered by you." Wang Mingchen also had a solemn expression on his face. "Don't worry, father. I definitely won't let you down." Chapter 719. Wang Daoyuan took out a storage pouch and gave it to Wang Mingchen. "These are the purple cloudwood cores I obtained during my travels. There are more than 30 of them in total. I'll give them to whoever needs them according to the clan's rules." These purple cloudwood cores were produced in the space within the Spirit Pearl. The results of the first purple cloudwood core expansion were all here. The planting area of the purple cloudwood cores couldn't be expanded at will. The only place with purple chi was the center of the Spirit Pearl. They couldn't absorb purple chi from other places, so they weren't valuable. Wang Mingchen solemnly took the storage pouch. "Seventh uncle, don't worry. I'll handle this impartially. When will the abdication be? I'll make some preparations." Wang Daoyuan pondered for a moment. "Let's set it half a year later." Wang Mingchen cupped his hands in acknowledgement. Wang Daoyuan then left the main hall and returned to the underground cave. As soon as he entered the rear courtyard, Zhou Luan asked, "Since you've given the purple cloudwood cores to Wang Mingchen, have you prepared the materials needed for my son to establish his violet palace and form his gold core?" Wang Daoyuan took out a storage pouch. "With Mingchen's talent, he'll definitely succeed in forming his gold core. The clan also has many magic tools to resist the heavenly tribulation. I've already prepared the materials needed for establishing his violet palace. Most of the clan's items are under my name. Mingchen will have whatever resources he wants. There are also cultivators from the Royal Prince's Manor's Guardian Hall in Hidden Cloud Continent. He won't be missing out on Hidden Cloud tea. I also have some soul-chasing bees honey and royal jelly. I'll leave them all to Mingchen. I guarantee that he won't lack resources even if he cultivates to the late stage of gold core. There are also a few pieces of yin-yang purple jade and 5 gold formation pills. I'll leave them to you for safekeeping." Zhou Luan nodded. "I'm not worried about Mingchen. It's just that we only have one child and he'll inherit the title of Royal Prince Qingli. After I return to Blood Shadow and enter the upper echelons, no one will be able to inherit my position. The upper echelons of Blood Shadow won't be safe without someone from our Wang clan. In the future, I won't be able to find you." Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, "Don't worry, the Qixing Sea Xiuxin community is isolated outside the sea. There's no news about the great Xiuxin world south of Jutian Abyss. I won't stay there forever. Once I've collected enough phase, I'll return to Beiyuan and help you break through your yuaning." In the past, Daoist master myriad corpses had fled from the Sea of 7 Stars to Beiyuan as a Zifu realm cultivator, but it had only taken him a few decades. My cultivation is much higher than his, and I also have a flying warship. I estimate that I can reach the Sea of 7 Stars in a little more than 10 years. With my capabilities, I will only need 100 years to gather enough Tier 5 phase. In the following half a year, Wang Daoyuan did not go anywhere else. He stayed in the underground cave abode to cultivate with Zhou Luan. They discussed their understanding of cultivation methods like the Heart Sutra of Clouds and Rain. Half a year later, it was time for Wang Daoyuan to pass on his position to Wang Mingchen. All the forces under Qingli Commandery had already arrived at Jade Spring Peak to pay their respects to the new monarch. Even Zhong Zhenyang and the others had personally come to Jade Spring Peak. Qingli Commandery was still a vassal of Zhao state in name, and such an important matter like passing on the throne required Emperor Zhao's imperial edict. Although it was just a formality, they still had to consider the Zhao clan's face. Currently, there was no conflict of interest between the two sides. On the contrary, there were many areas where they could cooperate, so there was no need to strain their relationship. Wang Daoyuan had already reported to Emperor Zhao about the matter of passing on the throne. Before dawn, Zhao Jinghua had already arrived at Jade Spring Peak with several Zhao clan cultivators. Zhao Jinghua's cultivation had also improved over the years, and he was now at the peak of the Golden Core realm. When he was at the late stage of the Golden Core realm, he was already a top-notch Golden Core expert. Now, he should not be inferior to a half-step Yuanying like Daoist Mo Yang. With him overseeing the state of Zhao, there would not be any major upheavals for the next 400 years. The sun rose high in the sky, passing through the obstruction of the sky-beheading mountain range and shining on Jade Spring Peak. The cultivators of various clans who came to pay their respects also entered Jade Spring Peak in succession. Just as Zhao Jingguo was about to announce Wang Mingchen as Prince Qingli, a purple-gold auspicious cloud floated over from the south. The auspicious cloud emitted the aura of a Yuanying cultivator, so it must be Daoist Lei Yan. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly rode the cloud 100 miles south of Jade Spring Peak to welcome him. When he got closer, he discovered that Wang Daoyin and Wang Mingting were also on the auspicious cloud. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, master." Daoist Lei Yan waved his hand and said, "No need to be so courteous. Return to the mountain first to hold the ceremony." The ceremony was held in front of the ancestral shrine, which was the highest point of Jade Spring Peak. Zhao Jingguo read out Emperor Zhao's imperial edict, allowing Wang Daoyuan to abdicate and confer Wang Mingchen the title of Prince Qingli. Wang Daoyuan handed over the seal and sword to Wang Mingchen. Soon after, Wang Daoyuan left the ancestral shrine, leaving Wang Mingchen standing alone on the high platform. The cultivators who came to pay their respects all bowed to Wang Mingchen. "Your subjects greet the great king." Wang Mingchen waved his right hand and said, "Everyone, please rise." After the ceremony, Zhao Jingguo left Jade Spring Peak and the cultivators who came to pay their respects also dispersed. Wang Daoyuan brought his master and little brother to the auditorium and said, "Master, I was planning to go to Precious Cauldron Mountain to say goodbye after the ceremony. I didn't expect you to come so soon." Daoist Lei Yan waved his hand and said, "No need to go through so much trouble. Now that the demons have been wiped out, I don't need to manage the various affairs. I'm tired of staying at Precious Cauldron Mountain all day. It just so happens that I can stay in Qingli County for a while and intimidate those rascals." Wang Daoyin also said, "I haven't been home for many years. I haven't seen Mingchen since he was born. I'll take this opportunity to come back and see how different the family is." After receiving the cultivators who came to pay their respects, Wang Mingchen also came to the auditorium. He bowed to Daoist Lei Yan and Wang Daoyin and said, "Grandmaster, third uncle." Wang Daoyin nodded with satisfaction. "Nephew's physique is indeed good. I'm afraid your accomplishments in body refinement will be far above mine." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Third brother, I have many children and grandchildren. I also have a son now. When are you going to find a Dao companion?" Hearing this, Wang Daoyin quickly changed the topic. After chatting for a while, Wang Mingchen brought Wang Daoyuan to tour the various properties of the family. Only Daoyuan and Daoist Lei Yan were left in the auditorium. Daoist Lei Yan asked, "How's the matter of refining the flying warships? Daoyin and I are both here and can help you." Wang Daoyuan replied, "I've already refined one low-grade 4 flying warship each. With 2 flying warships, it won't be a problem for us to go out to sea." Daoist Lei Yan was a bit surprised. "How long has it been? You can already refine 2 flying warships? How long did it take you to refine the spiritual energy conversion device?" 3 years for the first one, 1 for the second one." Daoist Lei Yan was shocked. "Even if I did it myself, it would still take me 4 to 5 years. Being proficient in all 4 Daos is indeed a great advantage. How's the preparation of the spiritual gathering pearls?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "With the help of the puppets, I've already prepared 60 to 70. With a few more high-grade spirit stones, it won't be a problem for us to go out to sea. No matter how big the sea is, there will always be a few islands where we can settle down. When we reach an island, we'll stop and rest." Inside the space of the spiritual gathering pearls, several clones had been busy for a long time. Now, there were nearly 200 pearls. If it wasn't for the fact that the 4th-grade spirit jades for the pearls were all used up, he could have made even more. Daoist Lei Yan took out a storage pouch. "Anything can happen on the sea. It's better to be prepared." If we fly to a place with thin spiritual energy, the pearls won't be able to recover quickly, which will be a big problem. In the past few years, I've also taken the time to refine over 60 pearls. You can have them all. In addition, I've also prepared over 1,500 kilograms of 4th-grade spirit jades for you. You can slowly refine them on the way. Wang Daoyuan received the storage pouch and expressed his thanks again. Daoist Lei Yen smiled. No need for that. You must have a lot of things to take care of. I won't add to your troubles. It just so happens that I'm a bit hungry. Let's go try Daoshu's cooking and give some pointers to this good-for-nothing Zhao Liang. Among Daoist Lei Yan's many disciples, Zhao Liang's aptitude was the worst. The other apprentice brothers were all 4th-grade weapon refiners. Only he was still 3rd grade. Chapter 720. Wang Daoyuan had killed a half-step Yuanying black-winged demon when he was dealing with the demons in the southern wasteland. That guy's 2 wings were kept by him. The black-winged demon mainly relied on these 2 wings to hide its body. Wang Daoyuan's black demon robe was refined from the wings of an early-stage golden core black-winged demon. He had 2 wings in his hands, so he could refine 2 black demon robes. He took out the 2 black-winged demon wings and said with a smile, "Master, I will inevitably encounter Yuanying cultivators here. With my own methods, I won't be able to escape from Yuanying cultivators. Master, please help me refine 2 black demon robes. If I encounter Yuanying cultivators, I will be able to escape with my life." Lei Yen took the 2 wings and said with a smile, "It's a small matter. Give me half a month, and I will refine 2 4th-grade black demon robes for you." After saying that, he left the hall and went to the earth fire room. Wang Daoyuan called 5th granduncle, 12th uncle, and 3rd brother to the hall and told them about the Zijin River Valley. He also gave them the route map. The entrance of the karst cave was not far from the heavenly/mountain range. There were 4th-grade demons entrenched there. With the current conditions of the clan, it was impossible to move a large number of clansmen there. The clan still had a lot of room for expansion. The heavenly/mountain range and Green Willow secret realm were enough for the clan to develop for hundreds of years. There was no need to spend a lot of effort to develop the Zijin River Valley now. He only asked them to send some cultivator clansmen over if the conditions permitted, so that they could establish a foothold there first. Wang Daoyuan had already explained most of the things that he needed to do. The only thing left was to decide the whereabouts of his clone and spirit beast. The Golden Wing was still a 2nd-grade middle-grade Golden Wing, which was already the upper limit of its growth. This fellow didn't have any high-level demon beast bloodline, so its life would end here. A 2nd-grade spirit beast wouldn't be of much help. All these years, it had been serving as a sentinel for the clan, investigating the demon beast activities in the heavenly/mountain range. However, it wasn't like Yun-Yi and the Thunder Ape. One of them loved to fight while the other loved to eat. They had no interest in the opposite sex. Golden-winged eagles were different. Golden-winged goshawks were rare, but they were not too rare either. Within the range of the heavenly/mountain range, there were still quite a few. This guy also had quite a bit of womanizing. Staying in the family was actually a good thing for it. There was also no need to bring the Thunder Ape along. Its only specialty was fighting. After all, it only had a cultivation of the 3rd rank, so it could not be of much help. There was still a lot of value in keeping them here to protect the family business. In order to prevent the Thunder Ape from having any objections, Wang Daoyuan even went to persuade it. However, this fellow did not want to leave with Wang Daoyuan at all. Its pleasures were fighting and drinking. If it stayed with the family, it would be satisfied. Staying on the flying battleship and doing nothing all day was too painful for it. Yun-Yi, Dahe, and the red-feathered crow were all brought along. The strength of the red-feathered crow could be of great help in battle. Dahe's sense of smell was extremely sensitive and could detect the enemy's tracks. Yun-Yi's strength could not help, but as long as it had enough yin qi, it could grow rapidly. If it was placed in the space of the spiritual pearl, it would not be long before it grew to the 4th rank. It was better to leave a few clones in the family. At critical times, they could also protect the clansmen. The devil clones must be taken away. If this thing was left in the family, It would be troublesome once it was exposed. Among the devil clones, Chen Jiaoyi was proficient in formations, while Liao Yang and Ruan Chang were proficient in refining. They were all useful. Feng Hu and Yao Long had low cultivation and poor refining skills, so they were not of much use. They could stay under Zhou Luan's command. When she returned to the Blood Shadow headquarters, she could take over the Shanbei and Qingli branches. The areas under the jurisdiction of these two branches were Wang Daoist's territory. If the Blood Shadow headquarters sent more people over, it would be extremely unfavorable for the family's development. After making the decision, Wang Daoyuan went to the underground cave where Zhou Luan was. Zhou Luan was sitting on the recliner in a daze. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Hall Master, what's wrong?" Zhou Luan sighed. "I'm almost 400 years old. When you leave, you will need at least 100 years. When you come back, I will be around 500 years old." Wang Daoyuan comforted her. "I will bring you a 5th-rank spirit item. As long as you can break through the Yuanying stage, you will have a lifespan of 2,000 years. 500 years is only a quarter of your total lifespan, which is equivalent to 25 years for an ordinary person. Besides, you have squeezed over 100 youth-retaining pills from me. Are you still worried about aging?" When she thought about becoming younger in the future, Zhou Luan's mood immediately became better. Wang Daoyuan continued, "I plan to leave behind 2 golden core devil clones for you to use. Cui Ming, who was overseeing the Shanbei branch, and Qian Feng, who was overseeing the Qingli branch, are no longer useful. Before I leave, I will arrange for 2 clones to oversee the 2 branches. This way, when you return to the Blood Shadow headquarters, there will be someone to watch over the 2 branches. One of them is called Feng Hu. His purple mansion anomaly is also of the tiger type. He can impersonate me." Zhou Luan nodded. "Go ahead and make the arrangements." A month later, Wang Daoyuan arranged for Feng Hu to be in the Shanbei market and Yao Long to be in the Qingli market. Cui Ming and Qian Feng's soul fragments were also recalled. When he arrived at the Qixingxi Xiuxin community, it was inevitable that he would have to refine other cultivators into clones. The total number of clones could not exceed 10. It was too wasteful to leave 2 Purple Mansion Realm clones. Lei Yan also refined 2 black-winged devil wings into a black devil robe. The black-winged devil wings of a half-step Yuanying cultivator could hide from the detection of a late-stage Yuanying cultivator. With this item, he would have a way to protect himself if he encountered a Yuanying cultivator in the future. After receiving the black devil robe from his master, he returned to the underground cavern and handed the previous black devil robe to Zhou Luan. "Hall Master, please keep this black devil robe. With this item, there won't be many people in Beiyuan Xiuxin community who will be able to discover your whereabouts. If you are transferred back to the headquarters before I return, don't be too aggressive in your actions. Protect yourself first. When I return, I will directly force the Blood Shadow headquarters to accept you as their master." Zhou Luan nodded. "Don't worry, I know my limits. If there is any danger, I will reveal my master's identity. The Su family won't dare to touch me. But you, on the other hand, might encounter any danger in the Qixingxi Xiuxin community. Even if you can't break through to the Yuanying realm, it's no big deal. You must stay alive." Wang Daoyuan left the underground cavern and went to the top of the Jade Spring Peak to bid farewell to his clansmen. He cupped his hands towards Wang Jian and Wang Shui. "5th granduncle, 12th uncle, after I leave, I will leave Mingchen in your care. He is Duke Qingli, but he is also a descendant of our Wang family. If there is anything wrong with him, feel free to teach him a lesson." 5th granduncle smiled. "Daoyuan, don't worry. Mingchen knows the severity of the situation. If there are any difficulties, Shui and I will do our best to help." He then said a few more words to Wang Mingchen and gave him the guest elder medallion of the Tai Sword sect. In the future, if someone from the Wang family embarked on the path of sword cultivation, they could use this medallion to head to the Tai Sword sect and comprehend the original Tai Sword diagram. After bidding farewell to everyone, he steered the mid-grade Tier 4 flying warship towards the south. The news of him going on a long journey had already spread. There was no way to hide it. Sneaking off would instead make people feel guilty. His master was temporarily staying at the Jade Spring Peak, and his younger brother had been transferred to the Three River Market to guard the Divine Weapon Pavilion's property. In addition, the four major sects had promised to protect the Wang family, so there was nothing to be afraid of. The flying warship swaggered all the way to the Thousand River Market. Then, it followed the Thousand River and headed east. The warship sailed into the Thousand River Valley, and the river suddenly narrowed. The roars of demonic beasts could be heard from the mountains on both sides of the river. Wang Daoyuan took out the white tiger blade and did not restrain his killing intent. The roars of the demonic beasts were immediately restrained. The entire Thousand River Valley was more than 10,000 miles long. However, the route here was extremely winding. Wang Daoyuan flew for more than 6 hours before leaving the Thousand River Valley and arriving at Linhai Prefecture. Chapter 721. Wang Daoyuan was going out to sea, and Linhai Prefecture had already received the news. As soon as he left the valley, he met a few golden core cultivators who came to welcome him. The ones in the lead were Lord Linhai and Gu Qingfeng. Lord Linhai cupped his hands at the south side of the flying warship. "Your Highness, please take care. Since you're here, let us be the hosts." Wang Daoyuan stopped the flying warship and smiled. "Thank you for your concern, fellow Daoists, but I'm in a hurry to get to my destination, so I can't stay here for too long." Gu Qingfeng waved his hands. "Your Highness, don't worry. How would we dare to delay your journey? You're going out to sea, so you'll have to fight. Spiritual items to replenish your spiritual energy are essential. The various families of Linhai have prepared some aged wine for you. I hope that your Highness will kindly accept it." Then he took out a storage bag and walked to the front deck of the flying warship. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't refuse and accepted the storage bag. "Thank you for your kindness, Daoyu. When I return from my travels, I'll treat you to a drink. Daoyu, farewell." After bidding farewell to them, the flying warship headed east. After leaving the valley, he felt like he was suddenly enlightened. Looking east, he saw a vast expanse of flat land. Linhai Prefecture was indeed blessed by the heavens. When the Wan River reached here, it split into more than 10 channels, nourishing the entire delta. Linhai Prefecture was 3 to 4 times the size of Qingli Prefecture, and it was basically flat land. At the lower reaches of the Wan River, the spiritual energy in the water was extremely abundant. Using the river water to irrigate, there would definitely be a lot of spiritual fields. If any faction could unify Linhai Prefecture, their future development would even surpass Song Country. The flying warship flew for half a day before arriving at the estuary of the Wan River. The river split into more than 10 channels and flowed into the sea. However, each channel was still dozens of miles wide. In his previous life, he had seen a large river flowing into the sea, but it was far from the Wan River Valley. In front of him was the vast sea. He had seen the sea in his previous life, but not from this perspective. He stood at the bow of the warship with his hands behind his back, flying tens of thousands of feet in the air. His robes fluttered in the wind, giving off the feeling of riding the wind in the void, aloof from the world. Near the estuary of the Wan Chuan River, there were many sandbars and many itinerant cultivators. Upon seeing the Tier 4 flying warships, they knew that they were not to be trifled with, so they avoided them as well. Looking north, tens of thousands of miles away was the Turtle Dragon Sea. That place was shrouded in clouds and mist all year round. Even from tens of thousands of miles away, one could still see a huge cloud. Above it was the astral winds of the 9 heavens. Below it was the boundless ocean. The mountain gate of the Valley of Beasts was in this patch of clouds. Wang Daoyuan didn't have any plans to go in. It was pure luck that he was able to obtain the corpse core in the Zijin River Valley and help his master break through. Long Yuntian's yuaning was refined into a corpse pill by him, and most of the spiritual energy was preserved. It was very difficult for ordinary spiritual items to be preserved until now. Moreover, the mountain gate of the Valley of Beasts must be very dangerous. Even if he coveted the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts, he could not take it now. It wouldn't be too late to make a move when the yuaning returned and ordinary means were no longer a threat to him. After flying 20 to 30,000 miles to the east, Wang Daoyuan released his clone, Ruan Chang, from the space of the spiritual pearl and let him control the warship. There was no need to fight. One person was enough to control the warship. He took some time to comprehend Yinglong's charm. In the future, when he wanted to improve his natal Dharma artifact, he needed Yinglong's charm. 2 days later, it was a full moon night. The bright moon hung high in the sky, and the entire sea was shining with silver light. Many demon beasts floated to the surface of the sea, absorbing the pure yin qi sprinkled by the moon. Wang Daoyuan wanted to avoid them, but there were no islands around. He could only lower the flying warship's altitude to avoid becoming a target of public criticism. He didn't want to cause trouble, but trouble came knocking on his door. 2 dragon roars came from the sea. One was green and the other was black. 2 flood dragons that were more than 30 meters long flew over from the sea. These 2 flood dragons were both mature dragons. They were the 2 that he met during the spiritual Qi tide in the hidden dragon river. Enemies were bound to meet. He had come so far out at sea, but he still met his old enemies. They blocked the flying warship. The jade-scaled flood dragon roared, "Shameless thief, you used despicable means to injure me back then. I haven't recovered yet. I didn't dare to offend that Yuanian cultivator, so I followed Mo Yuan and Dao Yu to the sea to take refuge. If you had stayed on land, I wouldn't have dared to take revenge on you. Now that you've come to the sea, you're courting death. You killed my grandson and injured me. Today, we'll settle this grudge." Hearing this, a strange smile appeared on Wang Daoyuan's face. It seemed that the sword attack back then was quite accurate. The jade-scaled flood dragon was a wood-type flood dragon. It had its own unique skills in healing. It hadn't recovered after so many years. It was most likely completely crippled. Seeing his evil smile, the jade-scaled flood dragon was furious. "Shameless thief, hand over your life." Then, it opened its mouth and spat out a ray of green light, which then attacked the flying warship. Wang Daoyuan had been worried that this fellow would seek revenge on the Wang family. Now that it had delivered itself to his door, it solved his worries. He stood at the bow of the ship with his hands behind his back. He had no intention of dodging. Things were different now. Back then, he didn't have the confidence to defeat the jade-scaled flood dragon. His current strength was already at the limit of the Yuanying realm. He could take a few blows from the Yuanying demons. In addition, he had modified the white tiger blade. His fighting strength was even stronger than when he was in the southern wasteland. When the green light flew closer, he waved his right hand and a silver sword light slashed out. Seeing this sword light, the jade-scaled flood dragon turned and ran. Although this sword light was casually shot out, it contained the sword intent of the Guiyuan sword. The powerful killing intent made the jade-scaled flood dragon's heart tremble. The jade-scaled flood dragon had long been blinded by anger. Although it also felt the sword intent, it wasn't willing to give up the opportunity to take revenge. The silver light flashed, and the green light scattered into fireflies. The jade-scaled flood dragon's strength was not weak. It waved its dragon claws to block the sword light. The sound of metal clashing rang out. The sword light shattered, turning into silver light and blending into the moonlight. A fine blood mark was left on the jade-scaled flood dragon's claws. At this time, it had already thought of retreating, but it was still unwilling to give up the opportunity to take revenge. There were many demonic beasts nearby. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to fight with the jade-scaled flood dragon for too long. A cold light flashed, and the white tiger blade appeared out of thin air and slashed at the jade-scaled flood dragon. The appearance of this sword was no different from before. It was just that the killing intent was more powerful. As soon as the white tiger blade appeared, the jade-scaled flood dragon, who had already escaped to the sea, fled even faster. The demonic beasts nearby also distanced themselves from the flying warship. The jade-scaled flood dragon's body emitted a green light, and the sea became green. The green light turned into a dragon shadow that was thousands of feet long. This dragon shadow had 4 claws and 5 fingers. It was the Azure Dragon. Although the jade-scaled flood dragon had the Azure Dragon's bloodline, it was extremely difficult to summon the Azure Dragon's shadow. This dragon shadow also contained the power of law. It should be the jade-scaled flood dragon's minor magical ability. A semi-divine beast's minor magical ability was supported by its own bloodline. Its power couldn't be underestimated. The azure dragon's shadow swung its tail and knocked the white tiger blade back. However, the white tiger blade wasn't to be trifled with. It directly cut off the azure dragon's tail. Even after using its minor magical ability, it still couldn't gain an advantage over Wang Daoyuan. This time, the jade-scaled flood dragon was really scared. If it didn't escape, it would definitely die here. Where there's life, there's hope. The flood dragon also understood this principle. It controlled the azure dragon's shadow to continue attacking while it fled into the sea. Wang Daoyuan activated his minor magical ability and converted all the spiritual energy within a radius of 200 miles into the metal attribute. Then he released a wisp of tiny golden flames. The silver flames burned rapidly. The white tiger blade returned to his hand. Holding the sword with both hands, countless sword chi condensed into a giant sword that was hundreds of feet long. The silver flames that covered a radius of 200 miles also gathered on the giant sword. Wang Daoyuan slashed down with the sword. The azure dragon's shadow dissipated, and green light scattered over the sea. The jade-scaled flood dragon used a spell to escape. Wang Daoyuan also released the giant sword to chase after it. Its speed was still not as fast as the demon-slaying sword. The giant sword turned into countless sword chi again and forcibly broke into the jade-scaled flood dragon's body. Only by killing the flood dragon this way would he not lose dragon blood. A dragon roar full of anger and unwillingness sounded. The jade-scaled flood dragon that was more than 10 feet long fell into the sea. Chapter 722. If it were any other time, there would be a large group of beasts fighting over the corpse of an upper-grade rank 4 beast. But now, not a single beast came over, not even to watch. After reaching rank 4, beasts were indeed much more intelligent and knew how to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. If they came over now, they would be sending themselves to death. Wang Daoyuan ordered his clone, Ruan Chang, to drive the flying warship over and put the corpse of the jade-scale flood dragon into the space of the spirit pearl. The corpse was extremely intact, and not even a drop of blood flowed out. After going out to sea, it was different from the jade spring peak. There was natural dragon chi there, and he could cultivate the true dragon body tempering technique at any time. Now that he was in the vast sea, dragon chi was not easy to find. He could directly sense dragon chi now, but where there was dragon chi in the sea, there would definitely be a large number of dragon species entrenched there. If he went over as a human, he would definitely be surrounded and attacked by dragon species. Near the wood and water spirit veins in the space of the spirit pearl, there were corpses of dragon species buried. But that bit of dragon chi was far from enough for Wang Daoyuan. If he wanted to obtain dragon chi, he could only rely on killing dragon species. The jade-scale flood dragon's blood essence was also more than 500 kilograms, enough for him to cultivate for many years. The deep-sea dark flood dragon ran fast enough, and now it had escaped to a depth of more than 10,000 feet below the surface of the sea. Wang Daoyuan could use the heaven-peering technique to find its tracks, but it was still very tiring to catch it. He simply ignored it and headed straight east on the flying warship. In the space of the spirit pearl, Shui Yan had already finished dealing with the corpse of the jade-scale flood dragon. All the blood in the jade-scale flood dragon's body was extracted and refined into blood essence. The remaining ordinary blood was left to Shui Yan. This fellow's burden was not light now. Other than refining weapons, he also had to bleed frequently. Wang Daoyuan planted a blood lotus seed in the space of the spirit pearl. He had watered it with the blood essence of beasts over the years, but it was useless. Even the blood essence of a rank 4 beast could only increase the vitality of the blood lotus seed. Ever since he took down Shui Yan and watered it with his blood, the blood lotus seed finally sprouted. Blood-red buds grew out of the lotus seed that was as white as jade. Although this thing was only a rank 3 upper-grade spirit herb, its value was not small. Its ability to replenish blood essence was extremely useful even for golden core cultivators. Especially after Wang Daoyuan cultivated the true dragon body tempering technique, Every time he transformed into a dragon, the consumption of his blood essence was huge. With the blood lotus seeds, he could replenish his energy in a timely manner. Furthermore, the grade of a natural treasure like the blood lotus seed was not fixed. The demon burial mountain was formed by the ancient demon race. After tens of thousands of years, there was not much spiritual power left, but it could still nurture the rank 3 blood lotus seed. Shui Yan was a living blood demon. If he used his blood to water it, it was not impossible for it to grow a rank 4 blood lotus seed. The entire body of the jade scale flood dragon was a treasure. Needless to say, the pseudo-dragon pearl and dragon horn were the most valuable things on the dragon species. The scales on its body were also excellent refining materials, and the reverse scale could be used to comprehend the innate spells of the dragon species. Dragon tendons were the best material for refining whips, and dragon bones were also good for refining weapons. However, to Wang Daoyuan, it was better to bury it near the wood's spiritual vein to increase the concentration of dragon energy. After removing the dragon horn, dragon pearl, and dragon scales, he buried the jade scale flood dragon near the wood's spiritual vein. The one he buried earlier had already merged with the spiritual vein. After dealing with the jade scale flood dragon, the nearby demonic beasts did not dare to block the way anymore. Wang Daoyuan was also happy to stay on the flying warship and cultivate the true dragon body tempering technique with the help of the jade scale flood dragon's blood essence. After arriving here, he headed east and did not encounter any more traces of humans. This was normal. He was now 200,000 to 300,000 kilometers away from Linhai Prefecture. To the east of the sky/mountain range, there were no major forces that could take action. Only a few had rank 4 flying warships. Without a foothold in the middle, it was impossible for cultivators to fly so far. Even the few forces that had flying warships were not willing to send them to explore the deep sea. After all, the demonic beasts in the sea were not to be trifled with. If they dared to fly casually, they would become food for the demonic beasts. Even when he was far away from Beiyuan Xiuxian, there were still no traces of humans. The sea was the territory of the demonic beasts. In places far away from the continent, even if there were a few islands, it was difficult for human cultivators to survive. After all, if human cultivators wanted to protect themselves at sea, they first had to ensure that there were enough bodies and enough cultivators to resist the invasion of the demonic beasts. A few small islands were definitely not enough. Without enough bodies, even if there were people to settle down, they would all be fed to the demonic beasts after a beast tide. Wang Daoyuan encountered a lot of trouble along the way. Rank 4 demonic beasts were similar to humans. There were smart ones and naturally, there were stupid ones. There were quite a few demonic beasts that dared to intercept Wang Daoyuan. Unfortunately, there were no dragon species among these demonic beasts. Perhaps it was because the dragon species' intelligence was too high and knew that they could not provoke Wang Daoyuan, so they did not dare to show their faces. Aquatic demonic beasts were usually not small. Killing one was a great harvest. After killing these aquatic demonic beasts, the blood was given to Shui Yan and the meat was made into jerky to be eaten slowly. Although bones could be used to refine weapons, Wang Daoyuan did not need these things. He burned them on the dust-returning flame to increase the spiritual energy in the space of the spiritual pearl. However, there was too much jerky. The storage bag in the space of the spiritual pearl was not enough. Fortunately, there were still a lot of Xinyuan gourds planted before. He let his clone refine them into storage magic tools to solve the problem of too much jerky. Of course, he encountered a lot of dangers along the way. The sea between Beiyuan and the Sea of Seven Stars was too vast, and there were very few islands in between. Without the obstruction of islands and land, the storms were naturally very strong. Even rank 4 demonic beasts could not avoid them in time. Wang Daoyuan also encountered many storms and the flying warship was severely damaged. In order to escape the storms, the flying warship used all its power and more than a dozen spirit-gathering pearls were broken. Fortunately, there was a spare warship and enough refining materials to repair the flying warship. It also encountered a group of demonic beasts and took a long time to get rid of them. After sailing on the sea for 13 years, Wang Daoyuan came to the vicinity of a small island. According to the records of the 10,000 Corpse spiritual master, he came to a dangerous place to avoid being hunted. There, he encountered an ancient teleportation array. After activating the teleportation array, he came to this small island. This island was irregular in shape and had a diameter of more than 20 kilometers. The entire island was an active volcano, and the highest point was more than 2,000 feet. This volcano seemed to erupt frequently, and there was not a single blade of grass growing on the island. Aquatic demonic beasts naturally did not like to approach the volcanic island. There were no living creatures on the island. Reaching this place could be considered to be entering the range of the Qixing Si Xiuxian community. This was because there was already rank 5 spirit qi here. Although it was very thin, it did indeed exist. This kind of environment in Beiyuan Xiuxian was already a treasure land that could only be encountered by chance. With Wang Daoyuan's current cultivation, if he stayed in this environment for 180 years, he could break through to the Yuaning realm. However, he did not want to spend so much effort. According to the records of the 10,000 Corpse spiritual master, the teleportation array was in a cave inside the island. The entrance of this cave was underwater. Wang Daoyuan put away the flying warship, put on the Black Devil's robe, and dived into the water. The deeper he went, the larger the volcanic island became. After diving more than 300 meters, he found the entrance of the cave under the cover of rocks. According to the records of the 10,000 Corpse spiritual master, he activated the mechanism at the entrance and walked in. The defensive array in the cave had long been destroyed, and the inside was soaked with seawater. At the bottom of the cave, there was a circular altar with a diameter of 60 meters. It was engraved with dense array patterns. There were also 36 grooves around the altar that could be used to place spirit stones. This was the teleportation array, and there were no missing array patterns on the entire teleportation array. Wang Daoyuan took Chenjiaoi out of the spirit bead space and let him record these array patterns. It was impossible to arrange a teleportation array, as it required spatial positioning. Even a cultivator who comprehended the law of space would find it difficult to do this. Without a complete method to arrange a teleportation array, it was impossible to arrange it with just these array patterns. Chapter 723. Many places on the altar were covered with mud and broken stones. It seemed that it had not been used for many years. This was good. At least it meant that this place had not been exposed. However, there was a great risk in using the teleportation array. Especially this kind of teleportation array that had not been used for many years. Who knew if the teleportation array on the other side was still intact? If the teleportation array on the other side had been destroyed, the teleportation array here might not be able to be activated, or it might be randomly teleported. If it was the former, he would only lose some high-grade spirit stones. If it was the latter, he would be in big trouble. If he fell into a monster's nest, he would die with grievances. In addition, according to the 10,000 Corpse spiritual master, the other side of the teleportation array was a dangerous place. Once he entered, it would be extremely difficult to escape. From Beiyuan Xiuxian to here, he did not know how far he had walked. The remaining million miles were nothing to him. No one was forcing him, so there was no need to take the risk of using the teleportation array. However, this teleportation array was still very important. From Beiyuan Xiuxian to here, he was unfamiliar with the place. He could use this teleportation array as an escape route. Now that this place was intact, if he was chased in the future, he could escape to that dangerous place. Through the teleportation array on the other side, he could escape here. In the 5 elements spiritual master's experience in array formations, there was also some basic knowledge about teleportation arrays. The teleportation array in front of him was two-way. One could come from there and one could go from here. The array patterns on both sides were exactly the same. In the future, if he used the teleportation array on the other side, even if it was damaged, he could use the teleportation array here as a reference to repair the array patterns. These 2 teleportation arrays had already completed their spatial positioning. Repairing the array patterns did not involve the law of space, so the difficulty was not particularly high. After recording the array patterns, Wang Daoyuan left the stone room and sealed the hole again. He was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he came to the island and entered the volcano. The lava inside contained extremely rich fire spiritual power. It had already reached the level of 4th grade high grade. Occasionally, it would emit a little 5th grade spiritual power. It was not enough for cultivation, but it was more than enough for comprehending the law. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the Golden Core realm. If he wanted to break through to the Yuaning realm, it was useless to rely on cultivation alone. He had to increase his comprehension of the law. Golden Core adepts only use their spiritual energy to imitate the laws. When they reached the Yuaning realm, they had to use their own spiritual energy to derive the power of the laws. There was a huge difference between the two. He knew very little about the Xianxia community. Although he had obtained information from the 10,000 Corpses spiritual master, it was information from thousands of years ago. Thousands of years had passed, and it was hard to say how much the forces that had destroyed the imperial regency had developed. After all, he could be considered a remnant of the imperial regency. If he did not investigate the situation clearly and rashly went to some of the bigger islands, he could easily be killed. The 10,000 Corpses Daoist master had also been teleported here, so he knew very little about the situation in the east. If they continued to head east, there would be more rank 5 spirit chi, and it was very likely that rank 5 demonic beasts would appear. It was best not to rush over before finding out more about the situation. He sat cross-legged on a rock beside the lava and drew out a wisp of scarlet sun primordial fire and a wisp of dust returning flame, placing them into the lava. The flames quickly covered the lava, and Wang Daoyuan continuously extracted spirit chi from the flames. Apart from refining his body, most of it was integrated into the space of the spirit pearl. His doppelganger, Ruan Chang, drove the low-grade rank 4 flying warship to investigate the east, looking for the next place to settle down. After staying in the crater for more than a month, Ruan Chang had more or less investigated the situation in the area 300,000 miles to the east. More than 200,000 miles to the east, there was an island where wandering cultivators gathered, called Monster Hunter Island. The island was not large, with a length of 200 miles from north to south and a width of 70 to 80 miles from east to west. Monster Hunter Island was located in the middle of a large low-grade rank 5 spirit vein, which extended into the sea. The spirit chi here was relatively dense, and many demonic beasts gathered nearby. There were many reefs around Monster Hunter Island, which were very suitable for hunting demonic beasts. Therefore, many wandering cultivators gathered here to earn resources by hunting demonic beasts. Ruan Chang even disguised himself as an ordinary wandering cultivator and spent a few days on Monster Hunter Island, gathering some information. Monster Hunter Island was at the edge of the Xianxia community and was often invaded by demonic beasts. No matter how much effort was put into building the island, it would be destroyed by the demonic beasts. Therefore, no one was willing to occupy this island, and Monster Hunter Island had always been in a state of no one managing it. The island was full of Golden Core wandering cultivators, and there were no Yuaning cultivators. Wang Daoyuan was very satisfied with Monster Hunter Island. Without Yuaning cultivators, he would not encounter difficult enemies. In a place where wandering cultivators gathered, no one would notice if he killed one or two of them. He could catch a wandering cultivator here and refine him into a doppelganger so that he could understand the Xianxia community. He boarded the flying warship and left Volcano Island, heading toward Monster Hunter Island in the east. When he was more than 20,000 miles to the west of Monster Hunter Island, he kept the flying warship and flew east on a cloud. At this moment, he was wearing a Daoist robe made of demonic beast skin. He had also suppressed his cultivation to the late-stage Golden Core realm and disguised himself as a middle-aged man. He did not look much different from a wandering cultivator who was struggling to make a living. 6 hours later, Wang Daoyuan arrived at the edge of Monster Hunter Island. In the middle of the island was a mountain range that ran from north to south. The entire island was covered with rocks, and there were very few plants. There were no spirit fields either. On the reef below, there were a few late-stage Golden Core cultivators who were staring at the sea surface, waiting for demonic beasts to appear. Seeing Wang Daoyuan fly over, a muscular middle-aged man said impatiently, "This place already has an owner. Don't come here and steal business from us." The language spoken by the cultivators here was similar to that of the northern abyss immortal world. There were slight differences in the accents, but the difference was not very big. Wang Daoyuan did not fight them head-on. Instead, he flew directly to the center of Monster Hunter Island. There was a grassy market here, and the decorations were very simple. There were also shops owned by some big forces in the market. They bought demonic beast materials at a low price, and sold some cultivation resources at a high price. Other than that, there were also street stalls set up by wandering cultivators. He flew directly into the market to see if there was anything he needed to understand. He could also gather some information at the same time. This market was called the Monster Hunter Market, and it was built in a small valley. The area it occupied was not small. It was more than 20 miles long and 10 miles wide. There were only a dozen or so shops in the entire market. The other places were filled with wandering cultivators who set up street stalls. Wang Daoyuan checked a few street stalls, but did not find anything good. They were all golden cores, fur, bones, and the like of demonic beasts. He walked directly to the center of the market. There were a dozen or so shops here. These shops had comprehensive functions. They sold elixirs, magic weapons, and bought demonic beast materials. There was also a 3-story restaurant. The plaque on the lintel had the words, "Kaiyang Restaurant," written in gold. There were many desperados here. They did not know what tomorrow was, and they liked to enjoy themselves while they could. Therefore, the business of the restaurant was very good. He could hear the sound of cultivators drinking and playing finger-guessing games on the street. This kind of place was the most suitable for gathering information. He walked into the restaurant. The main hall on the first floor had 30 tables, but only one was empty. Wang Daoyuan sat down at the empty table. Immediately, a middle-stage Zifu disciple ran over. "Senior, what would you like to eat?" A Zifu disciple serving the restaurant. This restaurant was quite extravagant. "Give me 5 or 6 side dishes and a jar of fine wine." The serving cultivator said respectfully, "Senior, please wait a moment. The wine and dishes will be here shortly." Wang Daoyuan listened to the conversations of the other cultivators. At a nearby table, there just so happened to be 2 cultivators chatting. A white-bearded late-stage Jindan cultivator asked, "Dao Yuli, you've always been active in the eastern Silverworm Island, and you have 10 or so brothers under your command. Why have you come to Monster Hunter Island by yourself?" The cultivator surnamed Li raised his wine bowl, taking a big gulp, then sighed. "Don't mention it. Earlier, when we were hunting demonic beasts, we offended the blood shark and suffered their revenge. 10 or so of my brothers were scattered, and it's hard to say how many of them are still alive. I couldn't stay there any longer, and I had the arrest warrant of the 7 Stars Alliance on me. I had no choice but to flee to an even more remote place. That's why I came to Monster Hunter Island." Chapter 724. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan's interest was piqued. Back then, the 10,000 Corps spiritual master said that the forces that destroyed the Imperial Regency killed his wife and children. In order to take revenge, he joined the Blood Shark. Later, those forces attacked the Blood Shark. After their leader was killed, the others fled in all directions. Logically speaking, the Blood Shark shouldn't have much left and wouldn't be able to hold on for long. After thousands of years, the Blood Shark actually still existed. Moreover, from what he said, the Blood Shark's forces weren't small. The white-bearded cultivator filled his wine bowl again and sighed. The 7 Stars Alliance occupies the core of the Sea of 7 Stars, while the Blood Shark occupies the periphery. Dao Yu has provoked both of them. Your future days won't be easy. The cultivator surnamed Li drank the wine in his bowl again. In any case, there's no tomorrow. Live one day at a time. If you really can't survive, go to the Myriad Devil Islands. The Sea of 7 Stars and the Blood Shark's hands can't reach the Myriad Devil Islands. The Myriad Devil Islands piqued Wang Daoyuan's interest. The 10,000 Corps spiritual master didn't mention the Myriad Devil Islands. The white-bearded cultivator filled his bowl again and persuaded, "No one cares about the monster hunting island. Dao, you should settle down here first. The myriad devil islands are a swamp. Even the Seven Stars Alliance doesn't dare to go there. Dao, you shouldn't go there so easily. Moreover, the myriad devil islands are millions of miles away. It's not even considered the Qixing Sea of Xiaoxian community's territory. There are demonic beasts running amok along the way. Even fifth-rank demonic beasts appear from time to time. It's not that easy to cross. In any case, there are fifth-rank spirit veins on the monster hunting island. Late-stage Aurus core cultivators like us can cultivate here without a problem." The cultivator surnamed Li nodded. "Let's stay here for the time being and see if there's a chance to break through the Yuaning. If there's a chance, we'll find them for revenge." After a while, the dishes Wang Daoyuan ordered arrived. The dishes were all meat dishes, and the ingredients were all demonic beast meat. On an island with sparse vegetation, it was easy to eat meat, but difficult to eat spirit plants. The wine was also not bad, a third-tier middle-grade spirit wine, slightly stronger than the Drunken Dragon brew. However, the cellar age was too young, so it was still a little lacking. Wang Daoyuan released a few soul-chasing bees and tasted the dishes first. After confirming that there was no problem, he began to eat. Not long after they started eating, a burly man with a scar on his face walked over. This man was at the late stage of the gold core realm. He was over 9 feet tall and had a thick beard. At first glance, one could tell that he was not someone to be trifled with. Seeing him approach, Wang Daoyuan also became alert. He mobilized part of his spiritual energy, ready to attack at any time. The burly man was unexpectedly well-mannered. He cupped his hands and said, "Dao, I'm Liang Feng. I see that the spirit bee in Daoyo's hand is quite extraordinary. Although its grade wasn't high and it couldn't be used as a helper in battle, its flying speed wasn't slow. Ordinary spirit bees have the ability to find spiritual objects. I wonder how Daoyo's spirit bee is?" One would not slap a smiling person. Since the other party was speaking nicely, Wang Daoyuan did not deliberately hide it. This spirit bee does have the ability to find spiritual objects. Liang Feng cupped his hands again and said, "I wonder if Daoyu has joined the beast hunting team. If not, I would like to invite Daoyu to join our beast hunting team. Previously, a brother in the team who was good at finding spiritual objects died at the hands of demonic beasts. We are currently lacking manpower in this area. The leader of our beast hunting team is the Black Ice Fairy, a first-rate gold core realm expert. As long as we don't encounter any mutants, hunting 4th-rank demonic beasts won't be too dangerous." As soon as Liang Feng said this, the other guests in the restaurant started to discuss. "I've wanted to join the Black Ice Fairy's beast hunting team many times, but I couldn't find a way." That's right. The Black Ice Fairy's strength is high, and the distribution of rewards is also reasonable. She never just hunts. Moreover, this Black Ice Fairy is not old, but I heard that she's a heavenly beauty. The following discussion went astray and began to discuss the issue of marrying into the family. Hearing these people's discussion, Wang Daoyuan also obtained some information about the Black Ice Fairy. In the cultivation world, female cultivators were extremely sought after. Even female cultivators with lower cultivation levels would have the opportunity to marry into some small forces as long as they had spirit roots. Therefore, there were very few female cultivators among itinerant cultivators. Needless to say, as long as their family background was clean, it was not strange for them to marry a core disciple of a large force. Such a female cultivator with first-rate gold core strength was young, but she was an itinerant cultivator. It was really strange to hunt demonic beasts in a remote place like Beast Hunting Island. However, Liang Feng's suggestion was not bad. He just happened to need to understand the situation of the Qixing Sea Xiaoxian community. Joining a beast hunting team would be convenient for him to ask for information. The Black Ice Fairy's beast hunting team was not bad. It did not matter whether they were female cultivators or not. The main thing was that they liked to hunt demonic beasts. Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time before replying, "Since Daoyu has good intentions, I can't refuse. I'm willing to join your beast hunting team." He was not worried about being assassinated by the beast hunting team. After drifting on the sea for more than 10 years, this time was not wasted. After killing so many demonic beasts, the Beiyuan sword intent was strong enough. Now, he could merge it with the majestic sword intent at any time. Moreover, the sword aura transformation technique recorded in the Golden Book had a secret technique for controlling sword aura. Wang Daoyuan had also cultivated it to the great accomplishment stage. Now, he could precisely control each and every strand of sword qi. Under such circumstances, the power of any sword cultivator spell would be greatly improved. Although he still could not deal with the suppression of the laws of Yuanian cultivators, there was still a lot of improvement. The combat strength of a first-rate gold core cultivator was not as good as that of the jade-scaled flood dragon. If he joined this beast-hunting team, even if they had evil intentions, they would not be enough for him to deal with. Hearing that Wang Daoyuan was willing to join, Liang Feng was overjoyed. "Welcome, Tai. This meal is on me. After eating, let's go see the Black Ice Fairy together." After a few minutes, the two of them finished their meal and Liang Feng went to pay the bill. The dishes here were extremely cheap. A dish made from the meat of a 3rd-grade or 4th-grade demonic beast only cost a few hundred spirit stones. However, the jar of wine was not cheap. It cost more than 10,000 spirit stones. After that, Wang Daoyuan followed Liang Feng out of the beast-hunting market and came to a small mountain in the south of Beast-Hunting Island. There were many cave abodes opened up by cultivators on the various mountains on Beast-Hunting Island. There was no one managing this place. Anyone could open up a cave abode at will. The mountain where the two of them were at was the base of the Black Ice Fairy's beast-hunting team. As soon as they reached the mountain, an old cultivator with a stooped figure walked out of his cave abode. This person looked like he had one foot in the grave, but his spirit energy was not weak. He was probably at least a 2nd-grade or even 1st-grade golden core in terms of battle prowess. Furthermore, this person's actions did not seem like that of a cultivator. Instead, he seemed like a butler of a large family in the mortal world. When he saw Wang Daoyuan, his face revealed a guarded expression. "Liang Feng, this is the newcomer you found? Daoyu has a sharp aura at such a young age. His attainments in the Dao of the sword must not be low. Could he be a junior of the Alioth sword sect who came out to train?" Wang Daoyuan was shocked. He had met an expert. He had been using the concealment art the entire time. Cultivators below the level of Yuanian could not see through his disguise at all. However, this person could tell that he was a sword cultivator at a glance. Coupled with the fact that he looked like a butler, it was very likely that he came from a large faction. The Black Ice Fairy was a female golden core cultivator and yet she was here. There must be something going on. Putting the two together, it was very likely that the Black Ice Fairy came from a large faction. Then, something happened to that faction and she escaped with her loyal servant. Of course, these were only speculations. There was no actual evidence to support them. Wang Daoyuan did not want to pursue this matter. He had just arrived at the Sea of 7 Stars. Getting involved in the affairs of large factions was no different from courting death. In any case, he was just gathering information in this demon hunter team. Who cared who they were? Wang Daoyuan laughed. "Dao, you must be joking. I only received some incomplete inheritance of a sword cultivator in my early years. How could I be a disciple of a sword sect?" The hunchbacked old man still had a suspicious expression, but he did not pursue his identity. At this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded out from the largest abode at the entrance of the cave. "Uncle Zhong, bring Liang Feng and this new fellow Daoist in." The hunchbacked old man cupped his hands towards the cave. Yes, Mississippi. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was shocked. His previous guess was not far from the truth. Chapter 725. This Black Ice Fairy was most likely a core disciple of a major faction. Either there was serious internal strife in this faction, or it was destroyed by an external faction. As a core disciple, the Black Ice Fairy was definitely being hunted down. In that case, it made sense for her to hide in a place like this. Of course, if her identity was too important, she would definitely be hunted down. Although Monster Hunting Island was remote, there were still interactions with the outside world. After Uncle Zhong confirmed that he was a sword cultivator, the first thing he thought of was that he was a disciple of the Alioth sword sect. This Alioth sword sect was most likely the #1 sword cultivator sect in Qixing Si Xiuxin community. There was a weapon forging shop in the market called Alioth Weapon Workshop, which should have been opened by the Alioth sword sect. It was obvious that the matters on Monster Hunting Island were not a secret. If he could guess that the Black Ice Fairy's identity was not ordinary, those major factions would naturally be able to guess as well. It was only a matter of time before their enemies came knocking on their door. Wang Daoyuan also made up his mind to leave Monster Hunting Island as soon as he found out what he wanted to know. Uncle Zhong led Wang Daoyuan and Liang Feng into the Black Ice Fairy's cave abode. This cave abode was also very spacious and was divided into 2 parts. The front yard was like a living room, and there was a large, long table for guests. Wang Daoyuan did not know what the backyard was like. The Black Ice Fairy was wearing an ice blue dress, and her figure was not bad. She was very attractive to young men who did not know much about the world. But to a wily old fox like Wang Daoyuan, it was just that. Her face was covered with a veil, so he could not see her appearance, but her almond-shaped eyes revealed some sadness. Her spirit power had already reached the peak of the golden core level, and she was an ice cultivator. Seeing that Wang Daoyuan kept staring at the Black Ice Fairy, Uncle Zhong coughed lightly. "How should I address this newcomer, Daoyu?" Wang Daoyuan's eyes still did not move away, and he said without hesitation, "I am Zhou Ming." He had never used his real name when he was out traveling. Even when he said it casually, it was not his real name. The Black Ice Fairy's cold voice rang out, "Zhou Daoyu, I wonder where your master came from and what you're good at." This was not to investigate Daoyu's secret, but to hunt demons in the future. Cooperation would be indispensable. Knowing your methods will make it easier for us to assign tasks. Wang Daoyuan did not mind. After all, he had many tricks up his sleeves. Any one of them could be used to impersonate a loose cultivator. Since he had already revealed that he was a sword cultivator, he might as well admit it directly. "I have learned some sword cultivator techniques. I'm almost a second-rate Jindan." Uncle Zhong continued, "Since you're a sword cultivator, you must have some attainments in refining weapons." Wang Daoyuan nodded. "I do know a thing or two." He could admit to refining equipment, but he couldn't admit to other things. This was especially true for alchemy. This inheritance had a lot to do with the types of spirit plants that could be found locally. The Sea of 7 Stars had less land and more sea. The main materials for alchemy were definitely demon cores, demon beast blood essence, and the like. Wang Daoyuan did not have these inheritances. Once he was asked to refine pills, he would definitely be exposed. Uncle Zhong smiled. "That's not bad. In the future, if your artifacts are damaged, you can repair them in time. You don't have to buy new ones from those weapon workshops. I heard from Liang Feng that you have a type of spirit bee that can search for spiritual objects. Can you let us have a look?" Wang Daoyuan took out more than 10 second-tier upper-grade soul-chasing bees from the space of the spirit pearl. These were already the lowest-grade soul-chasing bees in his possession. In the past few years, the area of the spirit field in the space of the spirit pearl had increased a lot. It had already reached more than 90 mu, and the flow of time had increased by 60 times. The space had expanded, and there were more honey sources. Especially with more high-grade spirit plants, the ranks of the soul-chasing bees had also increased. The queen bee had already reached 3rd-tier upper grade. There were also more than 500 ordinary soul-chasing bees that had reached 3rd-tier lower grade. As for the remaining 2nd-tier upper-grade soul-chasing bees, there were already more than 50,000 of them. Uncle Zhong looked at the soul-chasing bees and nodded in satisfaction. Their speed can reach 5,000 to 6,000 miles in 2 hours. If Daoyu were to live on a large island with lush vegetation, he would be able to build a foundation just by raising bees. Wang Daoyuan took the opportunity to fish for more information. "I was born in a remote place and have never been to a large island. I wonder what the situation is like on this large island. If possible, I can live on this large island in the future." Uncle Zhong was also a shrewd person. He immediately realized that he had misspoken. However, his face did not reveal the slightest bit of panic. When I was young, I traveled to the Green Leaf Island under the jurisdiction of the Divine Pill sect. The Green Leaf Island has a circumference of 10,000 miles, and there are hundreds of thousands of cultivators living there. There are even more mortals. The spirit fields on the island extend as far as the eye can see. If Dao Yu could go to that large island to build a family, he would be able to make a fortune with just these spirit bees. Wang Daoyuan also knew that it would be difficult to fish out too much information. It was already not bad to be able to fish out the name of a large sect and the situation of an island. If there is a chance in the future, we can travel to the large island. The Black Ice Fairy said, since Daoyu's spirit bees are not weak, it shouldn't be a problem for them to find traces of demonic beasts. Let's prepare to hunt demonic beasts. Uncle Zhong nodded. There are too many demonic beast hunters on this island. It would be difficult to snatch high-tier demonic beasts. Now that we have Dao Yu as an expert, let's go to the Black Shark Reef in the south of the demonic beast hunting island. There are often rank 4 upper-grade sharks there. Furthermore, there are also jade fin sharks. The fish skin and shark fin can be sold for a good price. Wang Daoyuan was new here, so he naturally did not have any objections. The Black Shark Reef was the most dangerous place near the demonic beast hunting island. There were rank 4 upper-grade demonic beasts in the market. Sometimes, one could even see demonic beasts that were extremely close to rank 5. Once these guys appeared, there would be a demonic beast hunting team that would be wiped out. Demonic beast hunting teams that were not strong enough would not dare to join in the fun. However, with Wang Daoyuan's strength, these demonic beasts would be sent to their deaths. This demonic beast hunting team was not weak. With the Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong, it would not be a problem for them to fight against demonic beasts that were close to rank 5. Seeing that no one had any objections, the Black Ice Fairy said, "Then let's get ready. We will set off in a month." Wang Daoyuan did not have much to prepare. He just opened up a cave abode on this small mountain. Other than that, he went to the Kaiyang restaurant every day to gather information. Every single one of these loose cultivators had a belly full of complaints. Once they drank, they would vomit. Wang Daoyuan also obtained a lot of information from them. He had some understanding of the major forces in the Sea of Seven Stars. Right now, the biggest force in the Qixing Sea Xiuxing community was the Seven Stars Alliance. The few forces that overthrew the Imperial Regency back then were the higher-ups of the Seven Stars Alliance. There were also many clans and small sects in the Seven Stars Alliance. About 80% of the forces in the Qixing Sea Xiuxing community were in the Seven Stars Alliance. The Kaiyang sect, the Divine Pill sect, and the Alioth Sword sect were all members of the Seven Stars Alliance. Among them, the Alioth Sword sect was a higher-up of the Seven Stars Alliance. They had contributed greatly to the destruction of the Imperial Regency back then. Other than the Seven Stars Alliance, the biggest force was the Blood Shark. After all, the Imperial Regency was a big tree with deep roots. Although it was destroyed back then, it still had a lot of hidden forces. These people concealed their identities and joined the Blood Shark, specifically going against the Seven Stars Alliance. Although the Blood Shark's strength was far from the Seven Stars Alliance's, it was still the old foundation left behind by the Imperial Regency. It controlled most of the secret realms in the Sea of Seven Stars. Many of the smaller forces that joined the Seven Stars Alliance also had secret dealings with the Blood Shark. With the addition of the Imperial Regency's cultivators, the Blood Shark was no longer the pirate it used to be. It was now a major force. Both sides had been fighting for thousands of years, with victories and losses. The Seven Stars Alliance controlled all the big islands on the surface. The small islands in the remote areas were too expensive to control, so they were often attacked by the Blood Shark. After many years of fighting, these small islands fell into the hands of the Blood Shark. The Demon Hunter Island was a little more unique. Many years ago, both sides fought over the Demon Hunter Island. In just 500 years, the entire island changed owners 50 to 60 times. No one could gain the upper hand. Sometimes, a wave of demon beasts would come, and all their efforts would go to waste. Both sides reached a tacit agreement. Neither side would control these remote islands where demon beasts ran rampant. They would only send some worthless disciples to do some business here. They could also earn a lot of spirit stones. Even if there was a beast tied and everyone died, it was not a big deal. Chapter 726. The two sides reached a balance. The Seven Stars Alliance was unable to destroy the Blood Shark, and the Blood Shark was unable to fight with the Seven Stars Alliance for the Big Island. This situation had been going on for more than 2,000 years. Currently, neither side had the intention to take down the other in one fell swoop. Even if there were conflicts, they were just small skirmishes. Wang Daoyuan liked this situation very much. If the two sides were idle and did something big, then the rogue cultivators would have no place to stay. They could only become scapegoats between the two forces. He could no longer appear as a rogue cultivator. He could only find a backer. Even if he was a disciple of a big force, it was better than being a scapegoat. However, if he joined some forces, he would lose his basic freedom, and it would be easy to expose his secrets. Both sides maintained a basic peace, so he did not need to find a backer. A month passed very quickly. Wang Daoyuan was in his newly opened cave abode, modifying sword cultivation dharma spells. He was just mingling with this demon hunter team to gather information. There was no need to expose his strength. The sword cultivation spells he used before, the sword shadow holy light technique and the demon slaying sword, were too powerful. Moreover, both of them were related to ancient spells. There might be people here who could recognize them. The power of the 10,000 sword art was too weak. It was a bit difficult to deal with cultivators of the same level. It was not enough to deal with those thick-skinned demon beasts. The power of the sky sealing sword prison was not bad, but once it was used, the demon beasts would become dumpling fillings. He had already mastered the sword aura transformation technique. It was not difficult to create his own sword cultivation spells. Wang Daoyuan combined the sword shadow holy light technique and the sky sealing sword prison to create a spell that could release 36 sword shadows at the same time. This way, when he used the sky sealing sword prison, its power would be greatly increased. He had been studying this spell for a long time. When he was drifting on the sea, he studied it for a period of time. Now, there was a prototype. The 36 sword shadows could be used to defend, attack, and also to use the sky sealing sword prison. The power of a single sword shadow was not even 10% of the full power of the white tiger blade. It was still far inferior to the sword shadow holy light technique. However, it was still easy to deal with cultivators of the same level. During this period of time, he had been perfecting this technique. Uncle Zhong's voice came from outside the cave. "Dao Yuzhou, it's time to go." Wang Daoyuan put away the things in the cave, got up and walked out. There were a total of 6 people in this demon hunting team, including him. Aside from the 3 people he already knew, there were 2 other late Oris core stage cultivators, named Ding Ming and Jiang Yi. The combat strength of these 2 people was not very good. They mainly played a supporting role. Ding Ming was an array master, while Jiang Yi was an alchemist. They also had several powerful healing spells. At the same time, Jiang Yi was also a poison cultivator and had refined a lot of poisons to lure demonic beasts. Of course, there were quite a few poisons that could kill demonic beasts. It was just that the poison demonic beasts were not easy to sell. Hunting demonic beasts had to be done swiftly. Once the stalemate was reached, it would be troublesome whether it was attracting other demonic beasts or wandering cultivators. If he could set up a formation, it would naturally be much easier to kill the demonic beasts. It would also be easier to kill them in one strike. These 2 people were not old, and there were no obvious signs of aging on their bodies. They were at most 400 years old. As wandering cultivators, they could have such a cultivation level before 400 years old. These 2 people were quite talented. The division of labor in the team was quite clear. Liang Feng walked the path of body refinement, and his body was extremely strong. If they encountered demonic beasts that resisted more fiercely, he would be the meat shield and resist the demonic beasts head-on. Uncle Zhong and the Black Ice Fairy were stronger, so they were the main attackers. In the past, there was a cultivator who was good at escaping and hiding. His main task was to search for traces of demonic beasts. Not long ago, he was killed by demonic beasts, and Wang Daoyuan took his place. Wang Daoyuan, Ding Ming, and Jiang Yi got to know each other. Uncle Zhong took out a Tier 3 flying boat. Get on the boat. The Black Shark Reef is more than 10,000 miles away from here. It will consume too much spiritual power to fly there directly. This flying boat was more than 50 feet long, and it was still very spacious for 6 people. Wang Daoyuan was not familiar with the others, so he did not say anything along the way. The flying boat was not slow. It traveled about 6,000 miles in 2 hours. Soon, they arrived at the Black Shark Reef. This was a coral island. The reef was not small, with a diameter of more than 1,000 miles. The part that was exposed to the sea was not big. Moreover, it was in pieces and did not form a whole. There were naturally many low-level fish in places with coral reefs. These fish attracted a large number of demonic beasts to come and look for food. For demonic beasts, devouring spiritual objects was still an important part of cultivation. Wang Daoyuan scanned the surroundings with his divine sense and found many Tier 1 and Tier 2 spiritual fish. There were no other human cultivators on the Black Shark Reef. The flying boat landed on the largest reef. This reef was more than 2 miles in diameter, and there were some low-level plants growing on it. It could also be considered an island. Uncle Zhong said, "Dao Yuzhou, you will investigate where there are traces of demonic beasts." Wang Daoyuan did not say anything. He released more than 300 Tier 2 superior-grade soul-chasing bees and spread out to look for traces of demonic beasts. More than 2 hours later, most of the soul-chasing bees returned. Those that did not return should not be able to come back. The soul-chasing bees that returned had scouted the situation within 2,000 miles. Wang Daoyuan planted 10 acres of demonic soul grass in the space of the spiritual pearl to help spirit beasts and soul-chasing bees gain intelligence. These soul-chasing bees often drank the nectar of the demonic soul grass, so their intelligence had improved slightly. Now, they could communicate with Wang Daoyuan more clearly. He said to everyone, 2,000 miles east of us, there are more than a dozen silver-gray sharks that are besieging a school of fish. More than 1,000 miles northwest of us, there are 5 cetacean demonic beasts with long whiskers that are searching for prey. More than 500 miles west of us, there are 2 black sharks that are chasing after several demonic beasts that look like seals. They have entered the reef area. The soul-chasing bees' ranks are too low. They don't dare to get too close, so they can't detect the demonic beast's ranks. A satisfied smile appeared on Uncle Zhong's face. Daoyou's spiritual bees are indeed powerful. They can detect so carefully. It's enough to know their general appearance and species. We often hunt demonic beasts in this area. As long as we know the general appearance of the demonic beasts, we can guess what kind of demonic beasts they are. Their ranks are not a problem. The one to the east should be a silver-scaled shark, the one to the northwest should be a baleen whale, and the one to the west should be a jadefill shark. Only a few of these jadefill sharks can grow to the 5th rank. Most of them stay at the upper grade of the 4th rank. Their skin is extremely tough and is an excellent material for making soft armor. Their fins are also one of the top delicacies in the Sea of 7 Stars. Their teeth are also excellent materials for making tools. With our strength, we can still take down 2 jadefill sharks. Ding Ming, you start setting up the formation. Jiang Yi, I'll leave the job of luring the jadefill sharks to you. The Black Ice Fairy also said, if this jadefill shark is an adult, its strength should be equivalent to a second-rate gold core. I'll have to trouble Dao Yu and Liang Feng to hold off one of them. Uncle Zhong and I will kill the other one as soon as possible. If time permits, we'll take down both of them. If time permits, we'll quit while we're ahead. Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections. He could even deal with a 5th-rank jadefill shark for a while. Jiang Yi took out a jade gourd and poured out a drop of dark red liquid into the seawater west of the reef. This liquid exuded a strong smell of blood. It was extremely attractive to demonic beasts like sharks that were extremely sensitive to the smell of blood. Ding Ming also took out a formation plate and set up a formation in the nearby coral reef. Wang Daoyuan released the soul-chasing bees to continue probing the demonic beast's movements. After more than 100 breaths of time, The two jadefill sharks in the west quickly swam towards them. Ding Ming's movements were extremely fast. In less than 200 breaths of time, he had finished setting up all the formation plates and loaded them with upper-grade spirit stones. Everyone hid in the vegetation, waiting for the jadefill sharks to enter the formation. Chapter 727. These two jade fin sharks were both of the upper grade of the 4th rank, and their fighting strength was not inferior to that of a second-rate golden core. Moreover, they were in the sea, so their advantage was even greater. Even Uncle Zhong's wrinkled face showed a dignified expression. Soon, the two jade fin sharks rushed into the ambush area of the formation. Ding Ming immediately activated the formation, and the area within 15 kilometers of the island was instantly shrouded in a layer of blood-colored mist. The two jade fin sharks showed an intoxicated expression, as if they liked the blood-colored mist very much. The black ice fairy made a complicated hand seal with her hands. She was extremely fast, and in less than 3 breaths of time, an ice-blue phantom seal appeared in her hands. This big seal emitted a terrifying cold air, and even with Wang Daoyuan's strength, he felt a little apprehensive. He was not confident that he could take this big seal with his physical body alone. The two jade fin sharks still had a trace of rationality, and when they felt the cold air from the big seal, they immediately reacted and fled to the west. The black ice fairy smashed the big seal into the water, and half a breath after the big seal entered the water, the sea within 50 kilometers was frozen into ice, and the two jade fin sharks were also frozen. Uncle Zhong took out a silver long sword and slashed at one of the jade fin sharks, wanting to kill it with one blow. However, it was not so easy to control a 4th-rank upper-grade demonic beast. The two jade fin sharks' water attribute spiritual energy burst out, shattering the ice on the sea. They also used the seawater to condense 2 water pillars as thick as buckets, and attacked Uncle Zhong. Although Uncle Zhong was strong, he had no hope of winning against 2 jade fin sharks at the same time. Wang Daoyuan's right hand was pointing a sword, and his whole body was emitting a fierce sword aura. Then, 36 sword shadows appeared at the same time. These sword shadows were blurry, and only had a rough sword shape. It was impossible to see their specific appearance, and could not be compared with the 10 sword shadows of the Sword Shadow Divine Light technique. While performing the technique, he also used his divine sense to suppress the Beiyuan sword intent and the majestic sword intent, which was the simplest and most effective way to fuse sword intents. After the 36 sword shadows were formed, Wang Daoyuan waved his sword, and the sword shadows slashed at one of the water pillars. The sword shadow was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it struck the water column. Under the attack of the sword shadows, the water column collapsed and turned into countless water droplets that fell to the sea, splashing water everywhere. The remaining water column was also cut apart by Uncle Zhong's sword. This jadefill shark's strength was really not weak. More than 10 of Wang Daoyuan's 36 sword shadows were shattered. However, this spell was derived from the Sword Shadow Divine Light spell. No matter how many sword shadows were lost, as long as one had spiritual energy, they could be replenished immediately. Wang Daoyuan completed the sword shadows and attacked a jade fin shark. At this time, the Black Ice Fairy had also recovered and summoned a transparent long sword. The sword exuded a biting cold aura. It should have been refined from profound ice jade essence. A burst of cold air flashed past, and dozens of 3-inch-long ice crystals condensed around the ice sword. The Black Ice Fairy waved her jade-like hand, and dozens of ice crystals flew out and surrounded a jadefill shark. Liang Feng also condensed a huge fist shadow and attacked Wang Daoyuan's opponent. The two jadefill sharks were still a little dazed. They were intoxicated in the bloody mist when they were suddenly frozen. After the ice was broken, they were surrounded and attacked, and the opponents were not weak. The intelligence of a rank 4 monster was not low. Naturally, they knew how to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Sensing that they could not win, they wanted to turn around and leave. But when they reached the edge of the bloody mist, they seemed to have hit an invisible wall and were bounced back. The 4 of them naturally would not let them go so easily. They all attacked the jadefill sharks. Wang Daoyuan still controlled the 36 sword shadows to attack the Jadefill sharks and fused the sword intent at the same time. The Guiyuan's sword intent had already taken shape. This time, after fusing with the majestic sword intent, the repelling force was not as strong as before. Every time Wang Daoyuan made a move, the degree of fusion of the sword intent increased by a bit. Seeing that they could not escape, the two Jadefill sharks would not sit still and wait for death. Under the stimulation of the bloody mist, madness appeared in their eyes. The black spiritual energy on their bodies surged, and their bodies grew rapidly. Their bodies, which were originally only a few feet long, quickly expanded to dozens of feet long. Then, they jumped up high in the sea, opened their bloody mouths, and bit at Wang Daoyuan and the others. Wang Daoyuan was naturally not afraid of them, but Liang Feng and the others were scared out of their wits. Not only were the Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong not afraid, but they were also delighted. The long sword in the Black Ice Fairy's hand emitted cold air, and the surrounding water attribute spirit energy gathered on the sword. Soon, a thick layer of ice armor condensed on the long sword, and it flew toward the mouth of a Jadefill shark. Seeing the ice sword flying over, the Jadefill shark quickly closed its mouth, wanting to use its strong body to take the sword head-on. However, the Black Ice Fairy's ice sword was not to be trifled with. It pierced one of the Jadefill shark's teeth. The strength of this shark tooth was comparable to a mid-grade rank 4 magic weapon, but it could not withstand a single blow from the ice sword. The ice sword cut through the tooth and entered the body of the Jadefill shark. Liang Feng looked nervous. He covered himself with a thick light shield of spiritual energy, trying to take on the other Jadefill shark head-on. Wang Daoyuan followed his example. 36 sword shadows flew into the mouth of the other Jadefill shark. The Jadefill shark quickly closed its mouth. Wang Daoyuan turned all the sword shadows into sword auras and drilled them in through the gaps of its teeth. The two Jadefill sharks fell into the water. After struggling for a while, they stopped moving. The fatal wounds of the two Jadefill sharks were inside their bodies, and they were basically intact. However, some wounds were left on the shark's skin during the fight, so the price was slightly reduced. However, there were not many wounds which would not affect the refining of soft armor. Uncle Zhong stored the two Jadefill sharks in his Cosmos Ring. We'll divide the prey after we return to the demon hunting island. Jiang Yi's method of luring the Jadefill sharks works on all shark-type demon beasts. The group of silver scale sharks in the east must have smelled the scent too. They'll be here soon. Wang Daoyuan was somewhat surprised. The Cosmos Ring was not small at all. The two level 4 high-quality Jadefill sharks were both 50 to 60 meters long. One Cosmos Ring could hold them. On the surface of the sea more than 500 kilometers to the east, they could already see the silver scale sharks jumping out of the water. Everybody boarded a flying boat and flew to the demon hunting island. The silver scale shark's target was Jiang Yi's drop of poison, so they didn't chase after it. Everybody was relieved. The two Jadefill sharks were worth a lot of spiritual stones. In particular, the bodies of the two Jadefill sharks were perfectly preserved. Even their essence and blood hadn't been lost. More than 3,000 kilometers away from the Black Shark Reef, a level 4 flying boat more than 30 meters long greeted them. On the demon hunting island, demon hunters often went out to sea on flying boats to hunt demon beasts. If there was no grudge between them, they would just greet each other when they met. The Black Ice Fairy's demon hunter team had always been acting alone and had never had any conflicts with other demon hunter teams. They didn't have any enemies on the demon hunting island, and they had never been intercepted when they went out to sea. Therefore, nobody thought it was a big deal. Wang Daoyuan had always been on guard against itinerant cultivators and didn't let his guard down. The level 4 flying boat soon approached them. Suddenly, a blood-colored flag was hung on the boat. On it was embroidered a shark with its bloody mouth wide open. Everybody was shocked. This was the blood shark's flag. Uncle Zhong ordered Ding Ming, who was controlling the flying boat, to turn the boat around and fly to the west. A fierce-looking brawny man appeared on the bow of the opposite boat and shouted at the crowd, "Black Ice Fairy, don't be alarmed. We have no ill intentions. This time, you led the team out to sea to hunt demon beasts, so you must have a bountiful harvest. We only want to buy your prey. We won't do you any harm." The blood shark was blocking the way at sea. Only a fool would believe that they had no ill intentions. The demon hunters were all itinerant cultivators for hundreds of years. Naturally, they wouldn't be deceived. They all took out their natal magic artifacts and were ready to attack at any time. Uncle Zhong stood at the bow and cupped his hands. "So it's Dao Yu from the blood shark. We also came to the black shark reef to try our luck. Unfortunately, there were too many demon beasts, so we didn't dare to attack. Now, we're empty-handed. This old man has some spirit stones here. I hope that Dao Yu will kindly accept them." The blood shark's flying boat continued to follow behind. It had no intention of letting them go. Chapter 728. The brawny man standing at the bow sneered. "Who cares about your spirit stones? Our leader has heard that the Black Ice Fairy is a beauty and has been thinking about her. Today, we're patrolling the sea and happen to meet you. How about this? Why don't you come with us? It will also relieve our leader's lovesickness. As long as our leader is satisfied, you can have whatever resources you want. Why do you have to work so hard for these cultivation resources?" Then, a few more Golden Core State Peak Stage cultivators walked out of the cabin and started to make a fuss. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan wanted to run. The minions below him were already at the peak of the Golden Core realm. The strength of their leader could only be higher. The Qixingxi Xiaoxin community had a level 6 spirit vein. Even a remote place like Monster Hunter Island had a level 5 low-grade spirit vein. Breaking through to Yuaning wasn't a problem. There was no such thing as half-step Yuaning. This meant that their leader was most likely a Yuaning cultivator. With Wang Daoyuan's power, he could deal with anyone below Yuaning. But if he met a Yuaning cultivator, he could only run for his life and he might not even be able to escape. Uncle Zhong quickly said, "Dao, you must be joking. Our young miss is focused on cultivation and has no interest in sex. Please forgive her, Dao." The brawny man from Shueisha said in disdain, "It's her business whether she has interest or not. Our leader can do whatever he wants. Isn't she the young miss of the Wen family on Xian Island in the northwest? We don't know if her father is alive or not. The forces he left behind all fled and were taken over by small sections. Xian Island has the endless ice sea and snow sea storms. We can't do anything to the Wen family. But this is Monster Hunter Island. Xian Island's reputation is worthless." Wang Daoyuan was familiar with the name Xian Island. Xian Island was the northernmost part of the Qixingxi Xiaoxin community. The sea there was frozen all year round. The ice extended to the extreme north where human cultivators couldn't explore. The mysterious ice island was in the endless ice sea. It was a huge volcanic island. Some ice elemental cultivators often went to cultivate near Mystic Ice Island. There were still many mortals living on the island. They relied on the heat of the volcano and the array formations to resist the cold, so they were able to survive. On Mystic Ice Island, the Wen family was the strongest force. Some of the forces on the island were not afraid of the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark because of the boundless ice sea's protection. On top of that, Mystic Island was more than 2 million miles away from the Sea of Seven Stars. It was hard for them to interfere with the affairs of the Sea of Seven Stars. Therefore, the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark didn't touch Mystic Island. Wang Daoyuan had previously guessed that the Black Ice Fairy was a core disciple of a major power, and his guess was not wrong. The Mystic Ice Island was indeed not weak. It was said that there were even soul formation cultivators there. No one knew what the exact situation was. According to Blood Shark's words, there was a serious internal strife in the Wen clan, and the Black Ice Fairy's faction was defeated. A phoenix without feathers was inferior to a chicken. The title of the eldest daughter of the Wen clan was not enough to intimidate these Blood Shark. They wanted to use force. No matter what, this conflict was unavoidable. Even if they could defeat this group of people, they would offend the Blood Shark. They would not be able to stay on Monster Hunter Island any longer. Moreover, there were many people on Blood Shark's flying boat. On the other hand, there were only 4 people with decent strength in the Monster Hunter team. However, Wang Daoyuan and Liang Feng were not related to the Black Ice Fairy at all. Why should they risk their lives for her? If they only relied on the Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong, they had no chance of winning against the Blood Shark. Wang Daoyuan acted as if it had nothing to do with him. These peak-stage Golden Core Blood Shark did not have the ability to stop him. Although the Black Ice Fairy's figure and appearance were indeed coveted, Wang Daoyuan was not a person who would give up his life. However, Wang Daoyuan was not someone who would forsake his life at the sight of women. There was no need for him to offend the Blood Shark pirate. Uncle Zhong sent him a voice transmission asking for help. Dao Yu Zhou, I know you are not an ordinary person. Previously, you dealt with the jade fin shark like it was a joke. Your true strength must be more than that. As long as you are willing to help, our young lady will definitely repay you generously. It is not impossible for her to repay you with her body. Wang Daoyuan closed his eyes and pretended not to hear. He really thought he was a hothead and wanted to trick him into risking his life with just a few words. He made it sound nice, but he did not take out any practical things. A hero saving a beauty was fine, but the conditions had to be discussed first. Seeing that he was indifferent, Uncle Zhong knew he was a wily old fox. Seeing that the honey trap did not work, he sent another voice transmission asking, Dao Yu Zhou, you have already reached the peak of the Golden Core stage at such a young age. The next step is to prepare to break through to Yuaning. However, the spiritual items that can assist in breaking through to Yuaning are not so easy to find. Although our young lady met with misfortune and was stranded on Demon Hunter Island, she is still a core disciple of the Wen clan. She knows a lot of information that loose cultivators have no way of knowing. Wang Daoyuan was somewhat tempted by the spiritual items that could assist in breaking through to Yuaning. He had come to the Qixing Si Xiuxian community for this purpose. After breaking through to Yuaning, he would bring some back to ensure that his wife and children could break through to Yuaning in the future. Compared to this, beauty was not worth mentioning. However, Uncle Zhong only mentioned a possibility. Wang Daoyuan would not agree so easily. Blood Shark is the second most powerful force in the Sea of Seven Stars. I am just a loose cultivator. If I offend them, it will be difficult for me to do anything. This meant that he agreed in principle, but he had to pay more. Uncle Zhong was also old and naturally understood. He said, as long as you are willing to help, our young lady will give you a 7 stars order. Wang Daoyuan had heard of the 7 stars order. The Myriad Corps Spiritual Masters Sea Observation Record had also mentioned it. The Qixing Si Xiuxian community had a mystic realm left behind from ancient times called the 7 Stars Mystic Realm. There were many restrictions left behind by ancient cultivators in this mystic realm. It opened once every 500 years. The 7 Stars Order was the certificate to enter the mystic realm. Without it, one could not enter at all. This mystic realm was first discovered more than 60,000 years ago. Every time it opened, a large number of cultivators would enter and obtain a lot of good things. There were treasures left behind from ancient times, as well as cultivation technique inheritances and the like. After a long time, no matter how many good things there were, they would not be enough. In the past 10,000 years, very few people had obtained precious treasures. However, there were many level 6 spirit veins in the 7 Stars Mystic Realm. In the past, there were even level 7 spirit veins. The spirit chi was rich, and it was in a closed state most of the time. Every time it opened, it would only be open for a month. Naturally, there were many kinds of spirit herbs inside. As long as one could enter and obtain some level 5 spirit herbs, it would not be a big problem. If one was lucky, one could even obtain some level 6 spirit herbs. Hearing that there was a 7 stars order to obtain, Wang Daoyuan was indeed tempted. I can help, but if you go back on your word, don't blame me for being ruthless. With just the two of you, you won't have a chance to escape from my hands. Hearing this, Uncle Zhong was surprised and happy. He was a little scared that such an expert had sneaked into the demon hunters. If he had evil intentions towards his young lady, he would not have been able to stop him. However, the stronger this person was, the greater the chance of dealing with the blood shark. He nodded and was about to send a voice transmission to promise when Wang Daoyuan disappeared into thin air in front of him. At this time, Wang Daoyuan put on the black demon robe and used the hidden demon art. Peak Golden Core cultivators did not have detection secret techniques, so they could not find him at all. A moment later, he appeared on the Blood Shark's flying ship. A sword shadow appeared on the necks of the 5 or 6 Peak Golden Core cultivators standing on the deck. Wang Daoyuan said in an old voice, "The young lady of the Wen clan, no matter how poor she is not someone who can be bullied by anyone. We just want a place to stay and do not want to be enemies with the Blood Shark. However, if you bully us too much, this old man does not mind teaching you a lesson." Hearing this, the people of the Blood Shark released their divine senses to investigate. They actually did not discover where their opponent was. This made them a little panicked. To be able to restrain several Peak Golden Core cultivators at the same time without being discovered, this was not something a Golden Core cultivator could do. The brawny man who shouted earlier said respectfully, "I didn't know Senior was here. This junior offended young lady Wen. Please forgive me. This junior has some spiritual items. Please take them as an apology to young lady Wen." Chapter 729. The higher-ups of Blood Shark were basically all descendants of the Imperial Regency. As for the lower-level cultivators, most of them were itinerant cultivators who were recruited. These itinerant cultivators were not easy to deal with. If he accepted their things, he would most likely be held accountable for it. Wang Daoyuan was too lazy to care about these trivial matters. He planned to run away as soon as he got the 7 stars token. There were too many troubles around a beauty, not to mention that Black Ice Fairy also had a great enemy in Mystic Island. Before Wang Daoyuan could speak, Uncle Zhong hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Dao Yu of Blood Shark, you don't have to be like this. My brother is a loner and doesn't like to talk to people. Please forgive us if we offend you." He took out a storage bag. "Here are some spirit stones as compensation for everyone. Please kindly accept them, Dao Yu." Then he threw the storage bag to Blood Shark's flying ship. Wang Daoyuan and Uncle Zhong played the good cop and bad cop respectively. Under the carrot and the stick, the Blood Shark cultivators gave in. The brawny man did not dare to refuse. He took the storage bag and said with a smile, "I'm sorry about this. Senior, don't worry. We will definitely not trouble Miss Wen in the future." Wang Daoyuan flew away from Blood Shark's flying ship. The sword shadows on the cultivators' necks also disappeared. These Blood Shark cultivators were not in the mood to patrol anymore. They ran straight to the southeast. When they returned to the monster hunter's flying ship, everyone in the cabin let out a long sigh of relief. Wang Daoyuan sat in his previous seat in the cabin as if he had never disappeared. Liang Feng and the other 2 were quite nervous before and did not notice his whereabouts. Only Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong looked at Wang Daoyuan differently. He suddenly disappeared and placed the sword shadows on the necks of several Peak Golden Core cultivators without them noticing. With this method, killing Golden Core cultivators was as easy as chopping vegetables. The flying boat did not encounter any more obstacles along the way and soon returned to Monster Hunter Island. Uncle Zhong sold the 2 jade fin sharks to the shops opened by those big forces and got 2,000 upper-grade spirit stones, which was equivalent to 20 million lower-grade spirit stones. The rogue cultivators on Demon Hunter Island were at least in the Golden Core realm. Middle-grade spirit stones were not very useful, and low-grade spirit stones were almost useless. Therefore, middle and high-grade spirit stones were used for transactions. Everyone gathered at the Black Ice Fairy's abode and distributed the spirit stones to everyone. Uncle Zhong said, "According to the rules of the past, those who scout for information, set up the formation, and lure the demonic beasts will each get half a share. The rest will go to those who hunt the demonic beasts." Ding Ming and Jiang each got 100 high-grade spirit stones. Dao Yu should also get 100 high-grade spirit stones. Liang Feng didn't take out as many high-grade spirit stones as he did. Of the 2 jade fin sharks, eldest Miss and I killed one together, Dao Yu Zhou killed the other one alone. Of the remaining 1,600 high-grade spirit stones, fellow Daoist Zhou should take 800 of them. I wonder if anyone has any objections? This distribution was very reasonable. Even Uncle Zhong and the Black Ice Fairy were at a disadvantage. Naturally, the others had no objections. Liang Feng, Ding Ming, and Jiang each took 100 high-grade spirit stones and left the abode happily. After the three of them left, Wang Daoyuan asked, "I helped you out. You should give me what you promised, right?" Uncle Zhong sighed and said, "It was all thanks to fellow Daoist Zhou's help that our young miss was able to escape. A mere 7 stars token was naturally not a problem. However, I have a presumptuous request. I hope Daoyu Zhou can consider it." Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "Since it's a presumptuous request, don't mention it. I helped you, so it's only right that I get paid. I don't want to get involved in other things. Although Xuanwu Island is not very powerful, it's not something a rogue cultivator like me can afford to offend. Don't involve an outsider like me in your family's affairs." Uncle Zhong was a bit embarrassed. He took out a dark gold order. "Daoyu Zhou, you're indeed a straightforward person. This is the 7 stars order. When the 7 stars secret realm opens, you can use this to enter it. At that time, the secret realm will take back the 7 stars order. The 7 stars token will only appear everywhere in the cultivation world 100 years before the next secret realm opens." Wang Daoyuan took the 7 stars order. It was as light as a feather in his hand. He didn't know what material it was made of. The inscriptions on it were also very complicated. Even with his skill in crafting, he couldn't tell what the inscriptions were for. He put away the 7 stars order and smiled. "Now we don't owe each other anything. I don't want to get involved in this mess anymore. We'll meet again someday. Goodbye." Then he was about to leave. Uncle Zhong quickly stopped him. "Daoyu Zhou, don't worry. I still want to ask Daoyu for a favor. The reward will definitely satisfy Daoyu." Wang Daoyuan was unmoved and continued to walk out. Uncle Zhong quickly said, "The reward is a map of the 7 stars secret realm. Daoyu Zhou, you're also an itinerant cultivator and don't have many inheritances. You don't know much about the secrets of the cultivation world. If you enter the 7 stars secret realm rashly, not only will you not gain much, but you may also encounter all kinds of dangers. If you have a map, you'll definitely gain a lot." Upon hearing this, Wang Daoyuan stopped in his tracks. Uncle Zhong's words were indeed reasonable. A secret realm with a level 6 spirit vein must have many dangers. Although he had the soul-chasing bees and Dahe to search for spiritual objects, he didn't know where the spiritual objects were. If he released the soul-chasing bees rashly, he would be delivering food to those demonic beasts. If he ran around in the secret realm like a headless fly, he could easily lose his life. Moreover, there were not only golden core cultivators who entered the 7 stars secret realm. There were also many Yuanning cultivators who went in to try their luck. With these people inside, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to run around. It was said that the 7 stars secret realm was extremely vast and had a radius of tens of thousands of miles. It was only open for a month, so there was not enough time to search for spiritual items. If he had a map, at least the efficiency of searching for spiritual items would be higher. He stopped and asked, "I'm indeed tempted by this reward. Tell me what you need me to do." Uncle Zhong's face lit up. "When I escorted young mistress out of the Mystic Ice Island, I was heavily injured. In addition, I'm old and haven't been able to recover. I've been plagued by this old injury for more than 100 years. It won't be long before I'm exhausted. Although young mistress is not weak, she's too naive. If I die, young mistress will not be able to survive in the cultivation world. I see that Daoyu has such a cultivation level at such a young age, and your strength far surpasses first-rate golden core cultivators. You're worthy of my young mistress, so I want to entrust my young mistress to you. My young mistress is extremely talented. It's not impossible for her to cultivate to the soul formation stage in the future. It's only a matter of time before she returns to the Wen clan. Young mistress is the only descendant of the old clan leader. Of course, she can take over the position of clan leader. The descendant of you and young mistress will be the future clan leader of the Wen clan. The Wen clan has a soul formation ancestor. Its status can be compared with great forces like the Jadeite Sword clan of the 7 Stars Alliance." Hearing Uncle Zhong's words, the Black Ice Fairy shyly lowered her head. To ordinary people, This condition was indeed very attractive. But to Wang Daoyuan, it was not a big deal. With the spiritual pearl, his future in cultivation was not limited to the soul formation stage. He also had a family business in Beiyuan Xiuxian. So, there was no need for him to marry into the Wen clan. Wang Daoyuan shook his head and said, "With my abilities, it won't take me much effort to build a family business. I really have no intention of marrying into the Wen clan. The map of the 7 Stars secret realm is indeed very important to me, but it's not to the extent that I'll sell myself." Then he turned around and walked out. Uncle Zhong sighed. "Since Dao Yu has no intention of marrying into the Wen clan, I won't force you. As long as Dao Yu is willing to agree to one of my requests, I'm willing to give you all the information about the 7 Stars secret realm with both hands. Just say it. The 7 Stars secret realm will open in 10 years. My young mistress will enter the secret realm and use the spiritual items inside to break through the Yuanying stage. I hope that Dao Yu can protect my young mistress. After my young mistress breaks through the Yuanying stage, Dao Yu can leave." What he meant was that he was going to entrust his young mistress to Zhou Donghuang. Wang Daoyuan glanced at Uncle Zhong. When he was dealing with the jade fin sharks, he was still vigorous and vigorous. Could he not even survive for 10 years? Chapter 730. Golden core cultivators were over 800 years old and their bodies were already very old. Once they were injured, it would be very difficult to recover. Wang Daoyuan asked, "How old are you and what kind of injuries do you have?" "I have some healing methods and normal injuries can't stop me. If I can heal you, how about you give me the map?" Hearing this, Black Ice Fairy was overjoyed. "Dao Yu Zhou, I'll help Uncle Zhong. As long as you can heal Uncle Zhong's injuries, you can have anything you want." Wang Daoyuan only wanted information and didn't dare to ask for anything else. Uncle Zhong answered, "I'm 890 years old. When I was escorting young Miss out, I was injured by an early-stage Yuanying cultivator. That person was an ice cultivator and large amounts of cold qi entered my body. I could only dive into the ice of the boundless ice sea to escape. That person thought young Miss and I were dead for sure and didn't chase after us. At that time, young Miss was only in the foundation establishment stage and couldn't resist the cold qi of the ice sea. I used all of my spirit power to protect young Miss and was invaded by the cold qi again. Although I've tried to control it these past few years, the cold qi has already corroded all of my organs. My body is like a lamp without oil. I'm afraid I won't be able to survive until the 7 Star secret realm opens. The only reason I'm still alive is because of my true essence." Wang Daoyuan was silent for a long time. "I've treated death qi before, but I've never tried cold qi invading my body. What element is your cultivation method? If it's fire element, it'll be easy. If it's other elements, it'll be more troublesome." Hearing this, Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong's faces lit up. "It seems I'm not destined to die yet. The most common cultivator on Mystic Ice Island is the ice element, followed by the fire element. I'm a fire element cultivator." Wang Daoyuan took out a strand of red sun primordial fire. "Take this strand of red sun primordial fire into your body and ignite your spirit power. This fire should be able to get rid of most of the cold qi. Even if it can't heal you completely, there should be hope for you to live a few more decades." The intense heat emitted by the scarlet yang primordial fire made the two of them see hope. Uncle Zhong directed this wisp of red yang real fire directly into his meridians, igniting the fire's spiritual power in his meridians. Wang Daoyuan controlled the crimson sun primordial fire and spread it through his meridians to all of his organs. Through the red yang real fire, he could use his divine sense to observe the situation in Uncle Zhong's internal organs. There was a large amount of cold air in his internal organs. About half of the cold air was natural. It should have entered his body when he was crossing the ice sea. The other cold qi contained extremely strong power of law. It should have been injected into his body by the Yuanying cultivators. Under the burning of the scarlet yang primordial fire, the natural cold qi didn't last long and quickly dissipated. However, The cold qi of Yuanian cultivators contained the power of law and was much purer, making it very difficult to deal with. After all, the level of spiritual energy was higher. Using a lower level of spiritual energy to consume a higher level of spiritual energy could only rely on quantity. An hour later, the natural cold energy had been completely refined. Not even 1% of the Yuanian cultivators' cold energy had been consumed. Wang Daoyuan withdrew the rootless fire. Let's stop here for now. There's too much cold qi. Uncle Zhong's body won't be able to take it all at once. Let's take it slowly. After saying that, he took out the Azure Dragon Pearl and used the Azure Dragon Reversal to heal Uncle Zhong. Soon, Uncle Zhong stood up and smiled. Thank you, Daoyu. I feel much better now. It won't be a problem for me to live for at least 900 years. The Black Ice Fairy also stood up and bowed. Thank you, Daoyu, for healing Uncle Zhong. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, You're welcome. Blood Shark already knows your identities. If some leader of Blood Shark comes to visit on a whim and wants to recruit you, it will be troublesome. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. Uncle Zhong nodded. Daoyu is very thoughtful. We should leave this place. There's an island slightly bigger than Demon Hunter Island in the northwest. It's called Sky Fire Island. The situation there is similar to Demon Hunter Island. It's also an ungoverned place. There are only a few cultivators who hunt demon beasts. The grade of the spirit vein there is higher, but it's also more dangerous. Demon beasts attack the island from time to time. We used to stay there before, but because there's a volcano on the island that spews lava from time to time, it's not good for Mrs. Cultivation. That's why we left. Having a volcano was extremely beneficial to Wang Daoyuan, as the lava contained an endless amount of spiritual energy. According to Uncle Zhong, the spirit vein there was at least mid-grade level 5. It was more suitable to comprehend the laws in such a spirit vein. The 7-star secret realm would open in 10 years. He could try to break through the Yuanian there. Now, he needed to deepen his comprehension of the laws. Moreover, he had obtained many spiritual items and artifacts from the Purple Gold River branch in the Valley of Beasts. If they could be nourished with a large amount of level 5 spirit qi, they could recover quickly. These artifacts were not very powerful, but as long as they could recover to level 5, they would have some power of the laws. With the help of the power of the laws in the level 5 artifacts, he could exchange blows with the weaker Yuanian cultivators. It was impossible to defeat the Yuanian cultivators, but there was still hope for him to protect himself. With a large amount of spiritual power, the spirit vein in the Spirit Pearl space could also evolve. Then let's go to Heavenly Fire Island. It'll be easier to heal you if we go to a place with dense fire spirit qi. Since that's the case, let's set off as soon as possible. Uncle Zhong was quite decisive. After meditating for a while, he called Liang Feng and the others over. He said to the 3 of them, We ran into Blood Shark. Although we've temporarily solved the problem, this group of people has no morals. It's inevitable that they'll come looking for revenge. Miss and I plan to leave this place. You guys should find your own way out. Then he took out 3 storage bags. There are 100 high-grade spirit stones in here. I'll give them to you as your travel expenses. The 3 of them were stunned for a while. They took the storage bags and returned to their cave abodes to pack. They were not related to each other in the first place. They had gathered together to earn a living. Since they had lost their livelihood, they would part on good terms. After dismissing the 3 of them, Wang Daoyuan, Uncle Zhong, and the Black Ice Fairy boarded a level 3 flying boat and headed northwest. On the flying boat, Wang Daoyuan said, Among the wandering cultivators, female golden core cultivators are too conspicuous. It's better for the Black Ice Fairy to dress up as a man. Although the Black Ice Fairy was also someone who couldn't see her toes when she lowered her head and her figure wasn't easy to disguise, she could dress up as a man and wear a loose robe. It wouldn't be a big problem if she didn't come into close contact with others. The 2 of them had no objections. Wang Daoyuan and Uncle Zhong left the cabin. An hour later, the Black Ice Fairy walked out of the cabin. At this moment, she had already changed into a loose black robe that could cover her figure. The veil on her face had also been removed, revealing a peerless face. Previously, just by looking at her eyebrows and face shape, one could tell that she was a beauty. Now that her entire face was exposed, it was even more breathtakingly beautiful. Ice attribute cultivators usually kept people at arm's length. Because of her background, the Black Ice Fairy still had a sad and sorrowful look on her face. At first glance, it made people feel pity for her. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Luan had been together day and night, so he had a strong resistance to the appearance of a beauty. Therefore, he didn't lose his mind. Seeing that his expression was normal, Uncle Zhong had a satisfied look on his face. He also looked at him as if he was looking at his son-in-law. Wang Daoyuan took out a jade slip. The Black Ice Fairy's appearance is still too conspicuous. I have a secular disguise technique in my hands. I can change my appearance without attracting attention. Although I can't change my aura, with your cultivation, no one below Yuanyin can see through your disguises. Uncle Zhong took the jade slip. Thank you, Dust. This kind of secular disguise technique was very simple for golden core cultivators. The two of them could use it after looking at it for a while. Uncle Zhong became a bit fiercer, while the Black Ice Fairy's appearance became a bit uglier. Although she was still too delicate and pretty, she wasn't very conspicuous anymore. After the flying boat flew on the sea for 2 days, the heavenly flame island was already in sight. The volcano in the center of the island was also very conspicuous. A huge column of smoke was coming out of the volcano, covering the sky for several hundred kilometers. Chapter 731. Skyfire Island was roughly in the shape of a shuttle, with a length of more than 50 kilometers from north to south and a width of more than 20 kilometers from east to west. The volcano crater was in the middle of Skyfire Island. Uncle Zhong had stayed here before and was familiar with the place. He controlled the flying boat and landed in the south of the island. Demon beasts often attacked the island, so there were not many cultivators on the island. There were less than 100 people, and outsiders rarely came here. There was a marketplace in the north of the island. There was not even a shop, far inferior to the marketplace on Demon Hunting Island. The flying boat landed on a small hill. There were 5 or 6 caves on the hill, but they were all empty. The death rate of cultivators on this island was extremely high, so there were many empty caves. Uncle Zhong smiled. Miss and I lived here more than 50 years ago. 9 out of 10 of the abodes here were empty. As long as there are no formations protecting them, you can choose whatever you want. Wang Daoyuan had never been very particular about cave residences. He casually picked a cave that was neither too big nor too small. After cleaning it up, he moved in. After Uncle Zhong rested for a few days, Wang Daoyuan healed him again. Because the natural cold qi in his body was removed and he was treated by the Azure Dragon Pearl, his body condition recovered. He could last much longer during the second treatment. About half of the cold qi left by the Yuanyin cultivators was removed. He also used the Azure Dragon Pearl to treat his injuries. Then, Wang Daoyuan left the cave and went to the volcano crater. The volcano was more than 3,000 meters tall, and thick smoke kept coming out of it. The fire attribute spiritual power had reached the mid-grade of the 5th level, which was excellent for comprehending laws. He came to the volcano crater and probed with his spiritual sense. Fortunately, the lava did not overflow to the crater. It was still more than 3,000 meters away from the crater. In the mountains above the lava lake, there were many small caves that had been excavated by people. It was very suitable for cultivators who practiced fire attribute cultivation techniques to cultivate in the crater. As for the thick smoke, it was covered with a formation and then used the formation to draw the fire attribute spiritual power in the lava to create a fire eye. Wang Daoyuan came to a small cave closest to the lava. The fire here was extremely strong, and ordinary peak stage golden core cultivators could not withstand it. However, the strength of his physical body was extremely high, comparable to that of ordinary demonic beasts of the same level. On top of that, he was a spiritual fire user himself, so his tolerance for fire was relatively high. Thus, he didn't feel much pressure staying close to the lava. Wang Daoyuan spent half a day to repair the fire eye array formation. Then he drew out the dust-returning flame and the scarlet sun true flame to burn the lava. Once again, he extracted spiritual energy from the flames to comprehend the power of laws within. While he was at it, he also fused it with the spiritual power seed. The remaining spiritual power was all stored in the spiritual pearl. The cultivation of the spirit beasts in the space improved very quickly. The red-feathered crow was already close to the upper grade of the 4th level. Yun-Yi turned into a fat cat and soaked in the spring water beside the Gui water death flame all day long. She absorbed the pure Yin energy and was about to reach the 3rd rank upper grade. Dahe had the devouring spell, so its cultivation improved the fastest. It was now at the middle grade of the 3rd stage and was about to catch up with Yun-Yi. In Beiyuan Xiaoxian, in the spiritual energy tide of the hidden dragon river, even a little bit of low-grade 5th level spiritual energy would cause a fight. At that time, he absorbed the 5th level spiritual energy for half a day, which brought great benefits to the growth of the spiritual pearl space. Now that he had endless spiritual energy of the 5th level, he strived to let the spiritual veins and spiritual fires in the spiritual pearl's space reach the 5th level as soon as possible. In addition, he also took out 5 shields and a long sword. These 6 magic weapons were all obtained from the Purple Gold River branch back then. Now, he had to restore them to the 5th level as soon as possible. The 5 shields were used to resist the heavenly tribulation of the nascent soul, and the long sword was used to deal with the Yuaning enemies he might encounter. With Wang Daoyuan's refining skills of the middle grade of the 4th level, he had no ability to modify this long sword. He could only make do with it. A year later, Wang Daoyuan was in Uncle Zhong's cave residence, constantly pouring fire attribute spiritual energy into his body to help dissolve the cold energy. Soon, the last trace of cold energy entrenched in his heart meridian was completely dissolved. He took out the Azure Dragon Pearl to heal Uncle Zhong. Then he said, "Uncle Zhong, all the cold energy in your body has been dissolved. However, this cold energy has stayed in your body for too long. Coupled with your old age, your foundation has been severely damaged. Without a treasure of the 5th level or above, there is no hope for you to advance in your life. Moreover, your lifespan has been reduced. It's already not bad if you can live to 960 or 970 years old." Uncle Zhong looked unconcerned. Originally, it was difficult to even live to 900 years old. Now, I can live for another 60 years. I'm already satisfied to be able to see Miss break through the Yuaning. Then he took out a beast skin book. "Thank you, Dao Yu, for saving my life. This is what you need." I think Dao Yu should have just left the mountain not long ago, so he doesn't know much about the Sea of 7 Stars. In this beast skin book, other than the situation of the 7 Stars secret realm, there is also a lot of information about the Qixing Sea Xiaoxian community. My previous promise is still valid. As long as Dao Yu is willing to marry Miss, the heir of the Wen clan will be the child of Yu and Mississippi. The Wen clan is one of the top forces in the Sea of 7 Stars. It is not inferior to the Jadeite sword sect. Wang Daoyuan took the beast skin book. "Thank you, Dust. I've already done what I promised. I already have a wife and a child at home. I can only let Dao Yu down. Goodbye." Then, Wang Daoyuan turned and left the cave residence. Uncle Zhong only sighed and didn't say anything. When he reached the entrance of the cave residence, he saw a black figure running into the cave residence next door. He used his divine perception to check and found that it was the Black Ice Fairy. There were still some tears in her eyes. Wang Daoyuan still didn't give in and left the small mountain. He hid his figure and flew toward the volcanic crater. The Black Ice Fairy was a stunning beauty. Her appearance wasn't inferior to Zhou Luan's. However, Wang Daoyuan couldn't marry into her family, and the Black Ice Fairy couldn't be a concubine. He couldn't put on his clothes and leave after seducing her. It was destined to be fruitless. It was better to end it early. He returned to the volcanic crater and continued to comprehend the laws. This volcanic crater was too suitable for Wang Daoyuan to cultivate. The level 5 spirit power was endless, and there was no one to disturb him. Even if the demonic beasts attacked the island, most of the aquatic demonic beasts didn't like places with dense fire spirit chi. They wouldn't come here to disturb him. He didn't plan to wander around anymore. He cultivated here and waited for the 7 stars' secret realm to open. The beast skin book that Uncle Zhong gave him had very specific contents. In the 7 stars' secret realm, there were level 6 spirit veins and precious spirit items that appeared in these spirit veins. This was also the foundation of the major forces. These major forces had been passed down for tens of thousands of years and knew a lot of secrets. The contents of this book were slowly explored by the Wen clan disciples who entered the 7 stars' secret realm. Ordinary small forces didn't have such good things. According to the book, the entire 7 stars' secret realm was more than 100,000 miles in diameter. There were more than 30 level 6 spirit veins and more than 200 level 5 spirit veins. There were many spirit veins below level 5. The value wasn't high, so there were no special records. The spirit vein with the highest grade was the 7 stars heavenly palace at the center of the 7 stars secret realm. This heavenly palace was a large group of palaces. It should be the monastery of some ancient major force. The spirit chi concentration here had already reached the limit of level 6 spirit veins. When the 7 stars secret realm was first discovered, the spirit vein where the 7 stars heavenly palace was located was still level 7. The Qixing Xiaoxian community was the same as Beiyuan. They were also affected by decimating heaven abyss. Since more than 70,000 years ago, the spirit chi concentration had been declining. It was just that the influence here was much smaller than Beiyuan. Back then, the cultivators of the Sea of 7 Stars obtained many extremely valuable inheritances from the 7 Stars Heavenly Palace. There were even level 7 and higher magic artifacts that appeared. The upper echelons of the 7 Stars Alliance, the Wen clan, as well as the Imperial Regency back then, all obtained many inheritances from the Heavenly Palace. Several tens of thousands of years had passed. This 7 Stars Heavenly Palace had already been practically emptied. Only the core Ziwei Hall was still inaccessible. Within the Heavenly Palace, there were still many herb gardens. The value of the spirit medicines there was the highest. Every time the Heavenly Palace opened, the cultivators of various major forces would head straight for the 7 Stars Heavenly Palace to fight for those spirit medicines. Chapter 732. There was a lot of information in the book. Other than the information about the 7 Stars secret realm, there was also the basic situation of the Qixing Xiaoxian community. The 7 largest islands in the Sea of 7 Stars were named Dubhe, Merak, Fekta, Megrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade, just like the Big Dipper. The distribution of the 7 islands was also similar to the Big Dipper, in the shape of a spoon. The handle of the spoon pointed to the north. Alcade Island was located at the northernmost tip of the Qixing Xiaoxian community. From the northernmost Alcade Island to the southernmost Dubhe Island, there was a distance of more than 2 million miles. The areas of the 7 islands were also different. Megrez Island was the largest, with a radius of 100,000 miles. It was not a problem to call it a continent. The smallest Alcade Island had a radius of more than 50,000 miles. In addition to the countless small islands around it, the land area of the Qixing Xiaoxian community was not much smaller than Beiyuan Xiaoxian. If the Mystic Ice Island, Myriad Demon Island, and the many subsidiary islands were included, the land area might even be larger than Beiyuan. Among the 7 islands, only Dubhe, Fekta, and Alioth were unified by a single sect. They were the body refinement sect Dubhe sect, the Fekta Palace which was famous for their equipment refinement, and the Alioth Sword sect which was a sword cultivator sect. Other than these 3 sects, there was also the Divine Pill sect, Mizar sect, and other slightly weaker sections. All the sects on the 7 islands were members of the 7 Stars Alliance. Back then, the Imperial Regency was located on the largest Megrez Island. At that time, the Imperial Regency not only controlled the entire Megrez Island, but also a large territory on the other islands. What attracted Wang Daoyuan's interest was the Myriad Demon Island. The Myriad Demon Island should be called the Myriad Demon Archipelago. It was formed by thousands of islands of various sizes. The decimating heaven abyss also spread to the southern part of the Myriad Demon Island. According to the book, The decimating heaven abyss did not appear 70,000 years ago. Instead, it spread all the way from the west more than 50,000 years ago. Later on, a powerful being came to set up a formation to prevent the decimating heaven abyss from expanding to the north. Otherwise, the entire Qixing Sea Xiuxing community would be devoured by the decimating heaven abyss. The situation of the myriad demon islands was very similar to the southern wasteland of Beiyuan Xiuxian. The spirit qi was also extremely violent. It was not suitable for ordinary people and low-level cultivators to live in. Most of the cultivators were devil cultivators. When the Imperial Regency was still around, the myriad devil islands were completely obedient. Right now, the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark were fighting each other to the death. He couldn't even control the Sea of Seven Stars, let alone the myriad devil islands. Therefore, the power of devil cultivators on the myriad devil islands was much stronger than that of the southern wasteland in Beiyuan Xiuxian. The seven-star secret realm that was going to open this time was near Hidden Yuan Island, which was more than 200,000 miles northwest of Kaiyang Island. In the following days, Wang Daoyuan continued to comprehend nomological laws and nurture Dharma artifacts in the crater of Sky Fire Island. 9 years passed by very quickly, and the opening of the seven-star mystery realm was not far away. During these 9 years, Wang Daoyuan did not waste his time. His comprehension of the fire and earth attributes had already reached the point where he could break through to Yuaning. If he was a cultivator of these two attributes, he could try to form his nascent soul now. Unfortunately, he was a cultivator with 5 spirit roots. He needed the nomological laws of all 5 attributes to reach the point where he could form his nascent soul before he could start to break through. However, with these 2 types of nomological laws, in addition to his minor divine abilities, his understanding of nomological laws was already stronger than ordinary cultivators. The remaining 3 types of nomological laws would not take much effort. When he reached the 7-star mystery realm, if he could find a suitable spiritual item, he would only need a few days to comprehend the nomological laws. Unfortunately, the 5-element spiritual fire that had been refined into a spiritual power seed could not break through to the 5th level. It seemed to have reached a bottleneck. No matter how much spiritual power was injected, it could not increase its power by a bit. It was the same for the spiritual fire and spirit vein in the spiritual pearl. When he started to continuously inject the 5-element spiritual power, the power of the spiritual fire rapidly increased. The spirit vein also improved very quickly. The density of the spirit qi produced was already at the level of the bottom of the treasure cauldron mountain. However, it did not increase later. It seemed that if he did not break through to the Yuaning realm, there would not be any more progress. On the other hand, the spiritual beasts had improved a lot. The red-feathered crow had successfully broken through to the upper 4th level. Dahe and Yunyi had also broken through to the upper 3rd level. The 5 shields and the long sword that Wang Daoyuan had been nurturing had also recovered to the lower 5th level. With the 5th level magic artifacts, it was not a problem to resist the Yuanying heavenly tribulation. The sword intent had improved a lot. Wang Daoyuan often used sword cultivation spells in this small cave. The rock walls of the cave were condensed from the lava below and were not weak. Now that he had completely integrated the majestic sword intent, its power did not increase by leaps and bounds like before. It only increased slightly. After all, the majestic sword intent was only a small part of the white tiger sword intent. It was only a branch of the Guiyuan sword intent. It was not like the previous killing sword intent, which was the main branch of the Guiyuan sword intent. With the integration of another sword intent, the power of the Guiyuan sword intent would improve faster. After all, the deepening of the understanding of each sword intent would lead to the improvement of the entire Guiyuan sword intent. The sword cultivation spells that he had created before could also be used. The power of each of the 36 sword shadows could be 10% of the full power of the white tiger blade. Wang Daoyuan named this spell the Tiangang sword formation. He could use the 36 sword shadows to perform the sky-sealing sword prison, and its power would be greatly improved. The Guiyuan sword intent had improved further. With the 5th-level magic artifact Long Sword and an extremely strong physical body, he could fight with an early-stage Yuanian cultivator who did not have any divine power. If the power of laws was not enough, he would rely on his sword intent and physical strength to make up for it. The hope of winning was slim, but he could still protect himself. Apart from the comprehension of laws, all other aspects had been improved to the extreme. It was time to go to Hidden Yuan Island and enter the 7 Stars secret realm. Hidden Yuan Island was northeast of the Heavenly Flame Island. It was 600,000 to 700,000 kilometers away, which was not far for Wang Daoyuan. However, he did not take the flying warship there. The closer he was to the 7 large islands, the more cultivators there were. Flying warships were strictly controlled by the major forces. Even if it was a 4th-level flying warship, it was not something that anyone could use. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to use it so blatantly, so he let the clone in the space of the Spiritual Pearl refine a 4th-level mid-grade flying warship. The core and the spiritual power conversion device were no different from the flying warship. It was just that the outer shell was not refined into a magic artifact, nor was it inscribed with array patterns. Of course, this way the entire flying warship used a lot of materials and was lighter. Its speed was faster than a flying warship of the same level. Wang Daoyuan took the flying warship and headed northeast. It took him more than 5 days to reach the vicinity of Hidden Yuan Island. The Big Dipper originally had 9 stars. The 2 stars, Dongming and Yingyuan, were hidden, so it was called the Big Dipper. The Sea of 7 Stars also had 2 islands, Hidden Yuan Island and Dongming Island. Moreover, their area was not small. In the Sea of 7 Stars, they were second only to the 7 large islands, with a radius of more than 30,000 kilometers. There were several Yuanian forces on Hidden Yuan Island, all of which were members of the 7 Stars Alliance. This place was already relatively prosperous, and now that the 7 Stars secret realm had opened, it was naturally more lively. There were many flying warships in the air, so Wang Daoyuan was not very conspicuous. In order to make himself look more ordinary, he wore a tight robe made of sea beast skin and disguised himself as a rough young man. His disguise naturally could not hide from the careful inspection of Yuanian cultivators. However, as long as there was nothing too obvious, no Yuanian cultivator would carefully inspect him. The 7 Stars Alliance and Blood Shark also had a tacit understanding. During the opening of the secret realm, both sides would stop fighting. During this period, all the cultivators on Hidden Yuan Island could freely come and go without facing strict inspection. Wang Daoyuan found a market square to settle down in the western part of Hidden Yuan Island. The entrance to the 5 Elements secret realm was in the western part of Hidden Yuan Island. After waiting for less than half a month, the day of the opening of the secret realm arrived. That morning, before dawn, everyone gathered on a seaside cliff at the westernmost part of Hidden Yuan Island. A few miles to the west of the cliff, there began to be violent fluctuations of the law of space. The moment the sun rose, a light curtain with a diameter of 3 feet appeared in the place where the law of space fluctuated. A peak Yuanian cultivator shouted, "The 7 Stars secret realm has opened. Those with the 7 Stars token can enter." Chapter 733. First, cultivators from the 7 Stars Alliance, Blood Shark, Black Ice Islands when family and other major powers entered. Entering the mystic realm first would always bring benefits. Especially the spirit herb gardens in the 7 Stars Heavenly Palace. Whoever entered first would be able to obtain the precious spirit herbs first. They were the ruling forces of the Sea of 7 Stars, so no one dared to compete with them. After the cultivators from the major powers entered, the Yuanian cultivators also entered. These Yuanian cultivators were either the leaders of small powers or itinerant cultivators. However, these people were usually early or mid-stage Yuanian cultivators. The late-stage Yuanian cultivators were thinking about how to break through to the soul formation stage. The treasures in the 7 Stars mystic realm that could help one break through to the soul formation stage had already been taken. Perhaps there might still be some treasures in some corner, but it was extremely difficult to find them. Usually, Only the major powers would send in a few late-stage Yuanian cultivators to protect them. After the Yuanian cultivators entered, it was the turn of the Golden Core itinerant cultivators, who had the largest number of people. Uncle Zhong's animal skin book had recorded the situation every time the Seven Stars Mystic Realm opened. Every time, there would be a lot of people fighting over the treasures. The number of 7 Stars tokens was limited. There were only 700 tokens at most. Because these 7 Stars tokens randomly appeared in various parts of the 7 Stars Ocean's cultivation world, many 7 Stars tokens were coincidentally not discovered by others. Very few people could enter the Mystic Realm every time. In the Qixing Si Xiuxin community, even Yuanian cultivators were not rare. There were even more Golden Core cultivators. What could a few hundred tokens do? The temptation of the 7 Stars Mystic Realm was too great. Naturally, people would take the risk. Every time the Mystic Realm opened, there would be people guarding the entrance to snatch the 7 Stars tokens. Most of these people were peak-stage Golden Core cultivators. There were also a few Yuanian cultivators who were thick-skinned enough. Now that they dared to show themselves, there would definitely be people trying to snatch the 7 Stars tokens. However, there was never a lack of hotheads in the world. After the Yuanian cultivators entered the light screen, a peak-stage Golden Core cultivator rushed forward. The moment he flashed the 7 Stars order, 3 cultivators flew out from the crowd and attacked him. One of them was an early Yuanian cultivator. The cultivator who took out the 7 Stars token was besieged by the 3 of them. Naturally, he was no match for them. Soon, he threw out the 7 Stars token and fled. The 7 Stars token also fell into the hands of the early Yuanian cultivator. Seeing this situation, the remaining cultivators did not dare to enter. Wang Daoyuan didn't want to be the first one to stand out. If he exposed his strength in advance and was targeted by the Yuanian cultivators, it would be troublesome. The rogue cultivators already had a plan to deal with this situation. Several rogue cultivators entered in groups, and very few people dared to snatch them. Soon, 5 peak Golden Core cultivators flew towards the entrance. This time, no one dared to make a move. Next, hundreds of cultivators at the peak and later stage of the Golden Core realm were divided into more than 20 groups and successfully entered the secret realm. Of course, not every cultivator had a large group of friends. There were also quite a few who slipped away alone. At this time, no one dared to look for teammates at the last minute. Whether they had the 7 Stars order or not, it would not be written on their faces. The longer they stayed until the end, the higher the probability of being snatched. Soon, 2 more peak Golden Core cultivators flew up from different places and rushed towards the light screen. Next, 3 peak Golden Core cultivators and 1 early Yuanian cultivator went forward to snatch the token. Wang Daoyuan saw the opportunity and pretended to snatch the token and flew up. The 2 peak Golden Core cultivators were soon unable to resist and their tokens were snatched away. The Yuanian cultivator naturally snatched one and entered the secret realm. The 3 late Golden Core cultivators fought for the remaining token. Wang Daoyuan took the opportunity to take out the 7 Stars order. After injecting his spiritual power, the token emitted a ray of light that shone on the light screen. Then, the token disappeared and a stream of energy from the light screen entered Wang Daoyuan's body. This stream of energy was extremely weak and stopped in his dantian without any movement. According to the animal skin book given by Uncle Zhong, this stream of energy was used to identify cultivators with the 7 Stars order. Without this stream of energy, one would not be able to pass through the light screen. The whole process took less than half a breath, and the other cultivators did not have time to make a move. Wang Daoyuan stepped into the secret realm. This secret realm was completely different from the small secret realms he had seen before. The secret realm over there was like a door. After entering, one would appear at a fixed place. This light screen was more like a teleportation array. Those who entered the light screen would appear at random places on the light screen, except for the 7 Stars Sky Palace. Wang Daoyuan appeared in a grassland with sparse trees. There were no traces of other people around, only some rank 2 horse-type herbivorous spirit beasts. He changed into the black magic robe and used the concealment devil art to conceal all his aura. In the space of the Spirit Pearl, his clone checked the animal skin book given by Uncle Zhong and determined the location of this place. This was the 10,000 Horses Plain, and there were many horse-type spirit beasts living here. However, the grade of the spirit veins in this place was generally not high, and there were very few spiritual items produced. Wang Daoyuan was not interested in staying here. His main purpose was to find rank 5 spiritual items and comprehend the power of laws to try to break through to Yuaning. The 10,000 Horses Plain was located in the eastern region of the Secret Realm. Further east was a lake called Bright Mirror Lake, and there were a few nameless small mountain ranges around it. Further east was the border of the Secret Realm. There was a mid-grade rank 5 water-type spirit vein around Bright Mirror Lake. Back then, this place was also a rank 6 spirit vein, and there were many dragon-type mutated beasts and rank 6 spiritual plants. After tens of thousands of years of sweeping, there were no high-value spiritual items in this border area. Of course, there were very few cultivators here, and it was a good place to transcend the tribulation. Wang Daoyuan set up the flying boat and headed east. 2 hours later, he arrived at the shore of Bright Mirror Lake. There was a stream of dragon chi in the spirit chi here. However, the concentration was not high, and it was not as high as his own Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan was not worried about any high-level demonic beasts here. They were swept once every 500 years, and demonic beasts could not grow at all. After landing, he released Dahe from the space of the spiritual pearl and let it smell whether there were rank 4 or rank 5 spiritual plants nearby. After Dahe advanced, the range of its sense of smell had reached 1,000 miles. It was also used to the many rank 4 spiritual plants in the space, and it had no problem identifying rank 4 or 5 spiritual plants. After Dahe sniffed hard, it said, "Master, there is the aura of a mid-grade rank 4 spiritual plant on the island in the center of the lake." Wang Daoyuan suddenly became interested. The spiritual plants here were swept once every 500 years, and there was not enough time to grow. Therefore, a mid-grade rank 4 spiritual plant was likely to be a seedling of a rank 5 spiritual plant. Wang Daoyuan immediately flew over. This small island had a radius of more than 3 miles. The island was lush with vegetation, and rank 1 and 2 spiritual plants were everywhere. In the center of the island was a small hill more than 300 feet high, and there was a spiritual spring on the mountain. The spiritual plant that Dahe found was on the bank of the spiritual spring. It was a small sapling only a foot tall, and the branches and leaves looked like an orange tree. Although there was nothing special about it, a small sapling could reach the mid-grade rank 4. It was not impossible for it to grow to rank 5 in the future. It did not matter what kind of plant it was. Even if it was a grass, it would be of great use when it grew to rank 5. Even if it could not grow to rank 5, it did not matter. The rank 4 spiritual fruit could be brought back to Zhouluan as a snack. Wang Daoyuan directly cut off all the surrounding rocks and put them into the space of the spiritual pearl. This spiritual spring was also a mid-grade rank 5. And it was suitable for comprehending the law. Several formations were set up on this mountain to hide the aura and avoid detection. He drew out a wisp of Gui water hell flame and put it on the spiritual spring, and the black flame burned fiercely. Wang Daoyuan constantly drew spiritual power from the flame, carefully comprehending the power of law in it. Originally, there was a small magical power, and the power of the law of the 5 elements was in his hands. If he wanted to comprehend it now, it would be a matter of poking through a window paper. If his comprehension of the law was not enough, he would not be able to find where this window paper was. And he already had the law of earth and fire attributes as a reference, and the window paper was in front of him. 5 days later, Wang Daoyuan's comprehension of the law of water attribute reached the level of Yuani. It took 5 days to harvest a spiritual plant that could grow to rank 5, and the law of water attribute also had a breakthrough, which was a small gain. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.